You let one ant stand up to us, then they all might stand up. Those puny little ants outnumber us 100 to 1. And if they ever figure that out, there goes our way of life. It's not about food. It's about keeping those ants in line.
We do not forget. Expect us.
This is a message to all supporters, a message to all freedom fighters, to all dissenters, to all forgotten, a call to all intellectuals, to all journalists, a call to all freethinkers, a call for intelligence. This is a call to all poets, a call to the strong and the weak, a call to all young people, to the wise, to the astucious. We want you to join us. We are on the streets of Tokyo, in the skyscrapers of New York, in the lanes of Paris, in the cellars of Munich, on Moscow's icy places, on the cobbled streets of Dublin. This is a call to all people, to the youth. Join us in the fight for freedom of information. Search for us, and you will find us. We are among you. We are you. Everyone you speak with can be a member of Anonymous. We have no leaders, only an orientation. We have no targets, only results. You cannot stop us because we are an idea. We cannot be eliminated because we are invisible. If you try to mock us, we will mock ourselves. If you try to slander us, we will accept the defamation. We are the king's gestures with daggers. We are the dancing bear which tears to pieces the laughing mob. We are Anonymous. We are a legion. We do not forgive. We do not forget. Expect us, just as we expect you.
Of government, we must guard against the acquisition of unwarranted influence, whether sought or unsought, by the military-industrial complex.
Yeah. No looping anymore, feedback or whatever.
Nah.
Wait till our guys are online, because we normally don't have feedback problems until after the show.
And welcome to Anonymous Bites Back, episode 134. Oh, I gotta fix that. I think I put the wrong title in our. Did I do that? Yeah, I did that again, didn't I? Yes, I did. Hold on, let me update that. Yeah, it's episode 134. Sorry for our Facebook fans. I know I'm not on here very much, so I gotta edit the title. Yeah, this is episode 134.
I keep track. Once we broke 100, that was like a big thing for me for some reason.
Yeah.
Like, you know what? This is real. Like, this is happening.
Yeah, it's a lot if you think about it, right? I mean.
Oh, speaking of Facebook, I got a Facebook trash today. There was a exploit on, was it Friday? Friday, right? Another exploit, exploit that was out on. So on your users on Facebook who like to keep their nudes on hidden, the ones that you sent your boyfriend, the ones that you didn't want to see but you did put on Facebook. Okay, so your hidden pictures on your Facebook profile. They said it only affected 6 million users, but the exploit was probably spread out more dynamically, so it's probably more like a couple billion of you guys. So, so hidden pictures through an exploit were given access to 745 developers and their companies and subsidiaries were allowed to view your hidden pictures. So, I don't know. Shitty programming at the hands of Facebook. Your shit is not secure there.
Yeah, well, we can.
Never was.
we can repeat it like 1,000 times and they will still not listen. So whatever.
Yeah, I mean, go ahead.
Like, it's not like we haven't specifically said, hey, look, here are some of the exploits to Facebook's code, and they've shut down our pages because of it.
Oh yeah, we're gonna get shit for this too. So if you guys haven't heard, for our Facebook users, this week something that Facebook did ban on the Facebook live feed is that Facebook got a bomb threat this week. Something that didn't make it into the news. Actually, Menlo, you can look up on Twitter for Menlo Park PD. They got a tip off from New York Police Department. I don't know, from their cyber. Apparently NYPD has a cyber crimes division, which I thought was FBI. But anyway, I'll hand it off to NYPD. But there was a bomb threat in Menlo Park that was tipped off from NYPD to Menlo Park PD, which doesn't make any sense to me because the FBI should have been doing it. but they didn't want this to appear in their timeline, apparently, because they didn't want their stocks to drop even further.
Nobody talks about the bomb threat because it's really going to affect our profit margin.
I mean, in July it was $242 a share, and now it's down to $140 fucking dollars.
Enough that you're willing to cover up at, let anything slide. Bomb rats, fucking, I don't care what you wear to work. Just do not make the stock slip any farther.
Yeah.
Imagine grabbing their at night, checking their Ameritrade accounts over and over and over again, just to see, oh god, it's another $5. We have to sell the yacht, baby. You're only going to be able to get one plastic surgery this year.
Mark,
yeah, it's true.
Go ahead. Yeah, Mark Zuckerberg can't stay out of the headlines, enough. I mean Brian, whatever his name is, the main investor at this point, besides the Mark Zuckerberg, is he wanted, I think he wants Sheryl Sandberg and Zuckerberg to step down because he's going to run the company into the ground.
And that may be their, we see it as big deals when these companies rise and fall and all of that. But that's where the money's made. right? So they'll tank one of these, knowing that there's going to be another company upcoming, or Microsoft or Google's going to be taking over that section. They'll tank a company, take their money out, and put it into the next bubble, right? The millionaires and billionaires, they make their money when the stocks crash, not when it shoots way up.
Yeah.
No, it's very true that you can make as much money when it's crashing as when it's rising. I mean, you can short on stocks and you'll make a lot of money too. And yeah, I guess they love it. I mean, they're all shorting on Facebook now to kill it. So yeah.
Yeah, I wonder how much is Zuckerberg like sitting in his garage, like he's all like, look, baby, we're gonna be living in the Ferrari by the end of the week if things don't turn around here. Was it? He going to be calling up Kanye and seeing if he can borrow some money? Because wasn't he supposed to give Kanye like $1 billion, some shit like that Kanye West was all upset about? You think Zuckerberg's going to be like knocking on their door and be like, hey, brother, I'm hitting some hard times. We're probably not going to be able to afford the second private jet this year. Maybe you could talk to your old lady to kick us some money.
Well, actually, you know what? Zuckerberg's wife is worth money too. She's but it's all tied up into Facebook. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, it's in a different way. The Kanye Kardashian dynamic is different, being that he has like no money and no career left, and she's got heaps of money and manages to talk to the president and let people out of prison. It's a totally different dynamic.
Yeah, I bet you 7 out of 10 listeners didn't know that Facebook had a bomb threat this week, mainly because it was talked down.
Well, and I wouldn't be, the difference between a bomb threat and a credible bomb threat and all of that stuff are, these places get bomb threats constantly. I would imagine that Facebook probably gets quite a few threats when it's all said and done. This one just may have been more credible than normal, or just anything with the word Facebook on it is going to post bomb threat, found on Facebook on our page, or towards Facebook on our page, right? It's going to share before they even know what the story's about.
That is true. I think it was pretty credible because I think they did actually evacuate entire building and all that stuff.
Well, New York, LA, Chicago, they've got their own counterterrorism task forces, oh God, and all sorts of different I don't know, some of it does have to do with cybersecurity, but they've got like law enforcement inside of law enforcement when it comes to some of these bigger cities.
Well, yeah, you know what I didn't understand is how NYPD tipped off Menlo Park PD when that's like an FBI matter. I didn't understand that. That could have been a shitty report that I had read, but I am like 99% certain those were the facts that I was given at the time that it happened.
Well, there's a lot of times it's jurisdiction. So like the FBI will say, hey, we're going to let this police department handle those things, and then if it raises to a level of something that they can't handle, then we'll take over. But like after 9/11, some of that shit like changed, because you have places where it's like, hey, this organization has all of this information, but refuses to or can't talk to this organization, even though it would save lives. When you look at like the communications, well, you can't use New York City's emergency police communications line because, well, your FBI or NSA or whatever. I know a lot of those things kind of got put into that the Homeland Defense gray area, where as long as you put the word terrorism on it, you can pretty much do whatever you want.
Yeah.
Yeah, it kind of destroys all our our methods to gain like the correct information about these events, because like you're saying that they're fucking around with all these things, and they're putting it up like beneath the terrorism banner, and they can pretty much decide what information they release, what they keep secret, and it's unfair actually, because
well, they normally
we deserve it.
They don't keep things secret that are in our best interest. Right now, I don't know if that you guys have talked about. I think we talked about it already. The Senate's reviewing our relationship with Saudi Arabia and our connection or our involvement in the genocide in Yemen. Now they're like acting like they're looking into it as if all of these people didn't sign off on the paper, sign off on the funding, sign off on the military funding, sign off on the contracts to go to Saudi Arabia, know about that they're going to be used in the war in Yemen, know, inside information about the Saudi Arabian government, but yet they're acting like, okay, guys, let's look into this. What, you set it up? You mean look into it? You did it.
Yeah.
Right. So I mean, there's this whole like control of information. They look out where with us it seems like, oh, this is breaking news. This isn't. Where in actuality, all of the things that kept secret, well, those turned out probably not to be in our best interests. They kept all of those hearings. If you sit on the Ways Commission or the War Commission, whatever fucking commission you sit on, right? Those are all secrets so that we don't know what's going on. And then they come and act like you guys didn't sit on those councils. You guys didn't set all of this up because it's secret. You don't know about it. You don't know that, Lindsey Graham and, 10 other senators sat in and, they signed off the weapons deals with Saudi Arabia, knowing that they're psychopaths, that there's a genocide going on, knowing that the weapons went there. But they'll come out and act on our side like, oh, we had no idea what was going on. We're going to look into it. Let's do an investigation. We're going to have a Senate. Let's have a hearing where there's the hearing for the people, the public hearing, and then the hearing behind closed doors where they talk about the real shit. To be honest, I don't even care about the public hearing. What was said in the secret hearing? That's the important stuff.
Yeah.
It has to know that you murdered and tortured a journalist. We know that already. We everybody knows that.
Hey, I really love our YouTube chat. All the people around there. I mean, there's like someone called Cat Girl. He says, "Hang all establishment." There's someone else saying, "I'm teaching my little one to use torrents."
Good call. Yeah, I teach. Look, I was so proud at my son's first day of school when I'm all like, "Hey, message me when you get off of school." And then I got on there and it's like, "Oh, they've got all of the security stuff to keep you from, getting on Facebook and YouTube." And he's like, "Oh, don't worry about it, Dad. I've got a VPN set up. I'll just message you as soon as school's done." And I'm all like, "Oh, I've succeeded as a father."
Yeah, you did.
The one thing, using Tor services, you just got to be careful because a lot of ClearNet, or we call the normal internet, is the security features will be set off. When you're using Tor, especially using, even Google search, you have to set up to verify who you are, which I think is a discrete JavaScript code to get your real IP, if I'm not wrong.
Well, I mean, the point of this is, and I guess, we can, I'm happy we went in this direction, because what you're really teaching, look, torrents aren't going to be around forever. Facebook isn't going to be around forever. What you're teaching the next generation is that you don't have to obey. You have access and right information. You do have the right to share that information, and you don't have to ask anybody for it. And that's what you're showing, show people that this is how we use technology to stay connected. This is how we use technology to share, which when people are used to freedom, it's so hard to take it away from them again. Once you're allowed to get the word out, when you take it away, people are like, "Oh, no, hey, what's going on here?" Right? That was my right. That was my freedom to speak out. This is my social media account. I should be able to say whatever I want. That's ingrained. If you're used to being censored all the time, it seems normal to you. Go to China or North Korea or Vietnam to some extent, where you'll go to places and they've never had that kind of freedom, so they never want it. They don't even feel like it's been taken away from them.
Yeah.
And when your children know why that you're using torrents, you're teaching them how to share information without asking the man. And I love that.
Yeah, and they, that's true, and they took away our freedom with all these these millions of small steps, right? Like one piece at a time, and then you empower them like that, and they get so much freedom as compared to what they're used to, and then it's very hard for them to ever give it up again. So that's very powerful, because we used to have it. We used to have a lot of freedom online. I mean, the internet was free, and yeah.
And that's the deal. Like, that's what's important, because there's this generation of us that we're used to the internet being almost completely free. You know, where you pretty much do whatever the hell you wanted. And the generations that have been like born into it, well, they've always had this censorship so much that there's a emoji for you know, a little smiley face with censored put over a piece of tape over its mouth. There's an emoji for censorship. It happens so commonly now. But because we were used to that freedom, we're always fighting it to go anywhere. You know, you feel like you're being oppressed at that point because you're used to that freedom. We were used to that. That's the internet that we grew up on. Where I think if like Facebook launched today, you would have very little uproar on it because nobody remembers when you could post whatever you wanted. You know, we all remember, hey, you used to be able to post whatever you wanted on your Facebook. Share it as many times as you wanted. You know, there wasn't pop-up ads. You know, we can remember the time when you still had freedom, and they've never been able to squash that again.
Well, yeah, I mean, you know, like the internet that you and I grew up on is not how it is today, you know.
Oh my God, not even.
Well, I remember when we used to, like, there was no like HTML editors, like, so you had to like code everything yourself. So
you're messaging
yeah, I remember when Dreamweaver was just like kind of a thing. Yeah. it was like Adobe Presents, you know, like oh my God, you got this stuff where you can hook it up into your server backend and see live time what you're doing on the page, and it was all HTML at that point. I don't remember any JavaScript.
Hey, it was Macromedia before Adobe.
I think so.
Macromedia. Yeah.
I remember, you know, we would switch codes, you know, code back and forth on you know, USB thumb drives, and I mean there was so much, and I mean it was all edited in the, you know, you made it so that you could edit it in the most basic of software, so you didn't need this giant software suit to be able to run code. There were even little things that you could test in. You know, you could write it in what is it, notebook, on tab editor. I mean, there was just an unending, you know, if you could type, you could write code and make a web page and make scripts and all sorts of cool stuff. And I think they've really gotten away from that. If you don't have the most recent, you know, $1,000 programming suit, you can't program, or you can't like be involved or write script. It makes it harder for a lot of people. And I kind of those days. If you're buy software, I don't know who would do that, but I've always been under the impression when it comes to like copyright and all that stuff. Look, if Metallica wants to stop by the house, right, I will give them $25, no problem, no questions asked, right? They'll knock on the door, hey, you know, you owe us for downloading or sharing the Black Album, right? You owe us $25. I dig that 100%, but I ain't giving Sony shit.
Yeah.
You know what we're also missing out on is like there was like such an easy way to educate yourself back then. Like even like the Dreamweaver example, right? It was so fun to like actually make this stuff yourself, and like especially for young people to learn all these things. And just feel like if they start to like censor and remove everything, it's just it's going to damage a lot of free spirits, honestly.
People that would have been interested in it, see how, you know, if you don't, there, I guess in some cases a lot of it didn't exist and things moved super fast. So I mean, there wasn't, you were kind of judged by your skills, your coding, you know, what scripts you had written and all of that. There wasn't a degree you could get in some of that stuff yet. And now, you know, it's gone very corporate where, look, if you don't have the Microsoft programming certification, you can't work here. Right? And that put where it used to be a very grassroots, hey, you know, I figured this out in my basement over a couple of years, and it would be some of the best software that you've ever used. And that was enough for you to go and, like, you know, hey, look, this is what I made. Look at my web pages. Look at all of this. And now, you know, if you're not certified through somewhere, don't have some, you know, rubber stamp on it, you've got no, you know, you can't compete. And that's really not what technology and computers we're going, right? It's the open source. It's all of us putting in a little bit and thinking about things together.
Yeah, those MSc certifications are bullshit anyway. You can get a better you can get a better education on YouTube than you can through some of the Microsoft courses.
Well, and look, I've got plenty of degrees, right? Programming, network administration. I've got a bachelor's in history. You know, we can name off all sorts of degrees, but in actuality, in all of my time in education, there is nothing that has ever been taught to me that you couldn't type into Google and learn yourself. Now, like, you can't get the job. That's why you have to do it, right? Is because you couldn't get the job. People wouldn't respect you. And you stood up and said something. Oh, you don't understand. You don't understand how the world works. Actually,
I remember that like came up on that came up on like one of my job interviews. I remember like the guy asked me like distinctly, "Do you know Hyper-V?" And I said no. I said, but I know how to use a virtual machine. He goes, "Oh, well, you need to know Hyper-V for this job," and he hung up.
Okay.
I was they're basically the same thing. It's
and they get into these, well, if you don't have this, specific check mark from here, that you don't know what you're doing and you can't learn. But fuck, in actuality, there is nothing that you can learn in school that you can't type into Google. No, lecture, no information that's really out there, whether it's, history that you want to know, history that you don't want to know, programming skills. There is nothing that you can't type into the internet and find out. But yet we spend a lot of money for someone to stand in front of you and tell you their version.
Yeah.
It's weird. Like, we have access to all of that information, but so few people, want it or access it or demand it. I don't know. It'd be just as easy as you'll get people that will ask a question somewhere and you're like, well, you couldn't have, I'll answer it, but you couldn't have typed that into Google.
Yeah, I get the same thing with, kids that want to be like hackers or ethical hackers, and they ask me, where to start or how to do this in X, Y, and Z, and I said, the best library is right at your fingertips, bro.
I've got a good, set of links, because, geez, out of all of the messages we get, they're hate mail, right? Will you hack into my ex-girlfriend's, ex-boyfriend's phone? That's number one.
That is number one for sure.
Yeah.
On my friend's Facebook. Right?
How do I join Anonymous, right? And will you teach me to hack? And it's like all of those things. Like, I can't tell you how to join.
Well, exactly. And when I tell people to learn how to hack, I said, you might want to learn how a computer works before you learn how to hack.
I would just open a web browser. I do normally. I'll send you 1,000 different links that I cut and paste from just the standard. When people ask me that question, and if you're really interested in it, you'll click on them and you'll learn. If you're not interested in it and you it's from the Matrix movie or the Hackers movie or some stupid shit like that, then why waste our time? But if you come back to me in 6 months and we're like, look, man, this is the stuff that I learned how to do, right? Then boom, I'll send you a little gold star, whatever you need to make you feel like you're part of Anonymous.
Yeah, I saw a guy yesterday posting that he had what did he have? He said that he was using Kali Linux, and he posted a screenshot that he has a botnet, and he shows me a screen pic of his of UFONet, which is like not really a botnet. I was like, you have 132 fucking zombie computers. Those are not. You don't even know how to use. You don't even know how this program works, dude.
Yeah. And I mean, the amount of stuff that you can do through PHP is impressive, and the whole how the bot systems work and all of that. It's not something that I'm skilled in, but it's something that I'm always looking into with what you could do. Those botnets right now are used for bullshit. Can you only imagine if you set up botnets specifically to spread peace, to spread truth, right? The things that we could do.
Yeah, well, the UFONet, it uses Open Redirect. You can scan for Open Redirect.
Yeah, that's basically what it is. They're not really zombie computers.
Yeah, right.
It's not they're not actually zombies. You're just using like one vulnerable link on like some sites and.
Well, and look,
like
if you're gonna stuff, look, if you're gonna bullshit it all, right? Make sure you do your research, because I've had people send us stuff about ops that we're doing. You know, oh, you might know me from this op and that op, and like, look, there were 3 guys in that op. I was one of the guys. I don't remember, right? But they'll send stuff if they were
They were there.
Yeah, and I won't call you out. I don't give that much of a shit. And part of like the whole part of when someone starts spouting off, oh, my favorite is I'm one of the founders of Anonymous, right? I always sit there and just kind of shake my head. Oh, cool, impressive.
Yeah.
You're not, you know what I mean? Jeez, those are some big boots to fill, I guess. Right?
Yeah, just remember whatever Tyler said. We're not supposed to talk about Fight Club. We don't talk about that kind of stuff. So just don't do it.
That
please.
guy's a retard.
We don't do anything. We don't do any ops. We just flapper out all day. That's what we do, right? So please stick to that stuff.
So how's everybody been, man? I haven't really seen a lot of y'all lately.
Been pretty good.
That's awesome. These protests they are just kicking up hard, man, and dude, it warms my heart so much.
Yeah.
I mean, yellow protests.
I feel like doing cartwheels in the streets, man.
It always starts with the French, huh?
Yeah, the French don't mess around, man.
No, that's true. I got to tip my hat to them. I really do, because they have opened it up, and people are taking notice and getting off their butts and doing something.
Well, to rate some of the things that immediately they like to divide us. You know, whether it's unions, whether it's this or that, there's all sorts of shit, left, right, blah, 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 that they love to divide us immediately. And with the yellow vests, they have not found like a chink in that armor. They have not found something that they can say, oh, well, you don't. No, the people all agree on this. You can go fuck yourself, right?
Yeah.
And haven't found that like thing that normally, everybody could agree in a room about saving our environment and this and that, and the oil companies, against against Gaza, and then as soon as you say immigration, it breaks down to fucking nightmare. And they've managed to erase all of that, and you can tell the people in power aren't digging it, man. Like, they are scared.
Yeah. There's an activist in Florida that he's also happens to be a law enforcement officer, and on his Facebook page, he took a video of himself at the park wearing a yellow vest, and he says, waiting for others to show up, and he's eating a sandwich, swinging on a swing, just sitting there looking around, waiting for people to show up. And finally, his daughter goes and sits on a park bench with him and puts her arm through his yellow vest that he has on, and he says, and then there were 2.
Is this penitent cop?
Yeah, you know who he is. Yeah, bro.
He's been a friend from a long time. If you guys don't know who that guy is, he is a law enforcement officer that believes in protecting people's rights. He's not a corporate thug. He don't hand out parking tickets, right? He's not a debt collector.
Right? I think he had 6 arrests last year, and they were like because of violence. There was a victim, so there was a crime. You follow me?
And he goes to other states in his Anon mask, and then when they arrest him, that's when he tells them, "Oh, by the way, I'm a cop," right? And it's great to see. He seems like the kind of guy that would be all over that.
If you pay close attention, he's in a few of Steve Grant's videos. You have to really know what you're looking for to see him, though.
His page, I know his page is the Penitent Cop.
Yeah.
I think I'm not going to give out any other name because I don't think he uses the other name anymore.
No, he doesn't. And he's been catching a lot of flack, man, from his department for his activities. He's like, dude, I just have a voice and I'm going to use it when I'm off duty.
Well, and he has on there, look, these are not the views of my department, but then they also know not to call him on bullshit, right? They know.
Oh, yeah.
Not there, all the games that they normally don't call him with I thought he had a gun resisting. No. Like, if I pull you over for something, that's what I'm pulling you over for. You're speeding. You got a bad taillight. I don't need to look in your car. I don't give a fuck where you were going. Like,
yeah. He even says he really won't arrest for weed or something like that. He's like, nah, man, that's a waste of my time, your time. not doing his job for revenue. Yeah, he even says he really
like the guy is like what you want to see in law enforcement because his goal is to help people, right? He's in the law. You're getting your ass whooped, right? He is there.
Yeah.
There is a real crime if you're in danger. He's the kind of guy that you want. That you
really
want,
there.
Yeah, that you want coming.
He's not the kind of guy you don't open your door for, you know.
Oh yeah,
there's a cop out there. I want to go talk. You know.
It's something that was a difference that I saw in New Zealand compared to America. When a cop car comes, you see a cop car coming down the street in America, people scatter, right? You run away. You want to get as far away from that as possible. When a cop car goes by in New Zealand, people go towards it to see if they can help. Think about that difference in how your society works.
Man, it's that is so telling about your environment, you know.
And to both, it seems completely normal. You know, they don't feel like they're doing anything special or out of the ordinary or whatever. When the cops show up, most people in America are like, "Well, I'm gonna get the fuck out of here. Party's over, guys."
Yeah. It's like you better get inside, duck for cover. You know, it shouldn't be that way. You know, it really shouldn't. So, man, it just makes me makes my heart bleed. You know.
Well, you think. You know, when you think that wasn't the way that it used to be, I always, you know, I lived out in Arizona there when I was in the military. I was real into like the Wild West and the OK Corral. You like the pinnacle of lawman, right? Wyatt Earp, right? Other than the OK Corral, he shot one person, and it haunted his nightmares, right? He went to sleep and saw that every single night. He hated to pull his gun, and now when you think of lawmen, where it's like the first thing that they pull. And this is the Wild Wild West, right? Good chance you get a hole put in you, right? And he hated to pull his gun. Most of the time, right, the reason he carried that big-ass 4.4 mag was because he'd pull it out and smack you over the head with it and then throw you out of the bar, right? Rather than fucking shoot you. And that's right. When you had a legitimate right to be maybe a little worried. Everybody's armed. It's the fucking Wild West, right?
Oh.
And he was reluctant to pull his fucking gun, and then you have people that are in the mindset, well, it's like the Wild Wild West. Well, in the Wild Wild West, your most famous lawman didn't want to pull the trigger.
No, at all. Yeah. I mean, I believe, my personal opinion, everybody should have a gun, you know, for protection, or at least know how to use one. But I don't feel that. I don't know. When I go shopping at a store, if I see somebody carrying, I feel safer rather than, you know, I'm not in fear. I think, well, if some shit's going to go down, at least I know this guy's going to stand up, you know?
It's 50-50 because I am like, for the people that are trained and whatever, I am really supportive of the Second Amendment and their Second Amendment rights. But then there's like this other part of society that it's, man, you're carrying a gun because you're scared as fuck. Right. And that's like what bothers me. You know, if you've got.
Yeah, at least get some training behind your belt, you know?
Yeah, well, I mean.
Yeah.
Your belt or in your car or whatever, just in case shit goes down. Nobody knows you got it. You're not talking about, you know, it's not this like, you know, this macho thing that I really do see as being the right way when it's all like, well, I'm here, I'm armed to the fucking teeth to go to the grocery store. Dude, you're just scared as fuck.
I get that. I can see, you know what I mean? I really can see some people being that way, but most I do associate with a lot of threepers and oath keepers and malicious type, and most of them they just carry for everybody's protection, you know.
Well, and that's
a lot of the women I know, I mean, they're damn good shots. I mean, you'd never even tell they're carrying, you know.
All the people that you just named are law enforcement, I mean, you know, I work as that may sound right. I have a lot of friends that are 3%ers as well, right? And they're they're military. They're well trained in small arms and some explosives in some cases. Large arms. What do you get? The guy's in Navy SEAL. Yeah, I'm fine with him carrying a piece. In fact, I feel a little bit safer with him carrying it. But you know, those are the guys that the scared dude looks up to. Right, that's the guy that he's trying to emulate, but isn't, right? When that SEAL's under fire, you know, he's been under fire before. The crowd that's running around, the screams and yell and blood and guts, right? He can focus in that situation. The first time that a guy in khakis see his friend or a kid's fucking brains blown out, right? You've lost it. You might as well not have had the gun. You're a danger, right? You know, there's a good chance that you're going to cap somebody screaming and running by because you're not in that situation. I've been in one firefight. I hope to never be in that situation again. Right. So when people like say that, that's something that they look forward to, I can tell you from start to finish, I was scared so fucking shitless. Right. I hope to never be in that situation again. I did what I have to do. Like everybody does what they have to do. But was it a controlled like situation? No. Was I scared as fuck? 100%. 100%. And I would think that even somebody that's been in that situation will have much more effectiveness into thinking out, this is something that we need to get as many people away from, or is this something that we need to try and put this guy down? Those are decisions that you're not going to be able to make from a Soldier of Fortune magazine.
Right.
But no, it's one of those, we need to be armed and smart, which don't always go 100% together, even though they should.
Yeah. That's so true.
Oh. I've been in rooms with guys and you'll think, fuck, man, this is a good group of guys. I'm glad. And then there'll be one dude and you'll be like, oh, let's just give him blanks and don't tell anybody.
You know what? I did see an article that kind of disturbed me. John, you want me to talk about this?
Yeah, go ahead.
That there was an article going around on AMP, which is Twitter's, Google's relation to websites. What did I see? Oh, that these yellow vest guys were organizing on Facebook, and I was just like, really?
Yeah. Well, it's not actually true. They are like they're having their event pages and stuff on Facebook, but I'm in their organized stuff, and they're not actually doing. I think you're talking about the American Yellow Vests.
Well, I mean, it's had such a huge impact on the culture. I mean, I think there's probably Facebook pages popping up every day, Twitter accounts popping up every day. I mean,
there are, but the Yellow Vests of America have also, we've gone to other more secure different sites than just Facebook. That's just kind of like a general information group.
Yeah, because everything you do on Facebook, like the cops are already watching, and you can see how they're treating people in France. So I was talking about the people in France and in Belgium and stuff. They are not organizing on Facebook, but I think Tyler means initially the American Yellow Vests were kind of like starting out there. Well, all I can say is I would advise not to do it because the law enforcement is actually watching you there. So
they have like free reign on Facebook to prosecute you.
And use, don't get caught up into this circle. So I mean, when you find, when you see, hey, there's going to be a yellow vest, protest or show of force or whatever you call it on whatever day it is. If you see a bunch of people, and that's where they're going. Join to have a Facebook event, you're interested, fucking stupid shit like that. When revolution comes, it's you hitting the streets, right? When you see that group of people walking by, grab your phone, start walking with them. And we start doing that in you need to organize. Protests are organized, right? That's the difference between a protest and revolution, right? Revolution is start grabbing your shit and let's do this, right? Has to do with we're going to get some shit on CNN and everybody sit with bullhorns and all that crap. That's not what this is.
Yeah, and with the Yellow Vest, well, in France, it's every Saturday. It just sticks to every Saturday. Next Saturday will be Act 6. The Saturday after that will be Act 7. They will march until they get what they want. And other countries, Belgium, Netherlands, everyone is marching on Saturday, so there's not even a need to create a Facebook event. On Saturday we will all march. So just go march whatever in your city on Saturday. Join up with your crowds. You don't have to discuss anything because there are not any leaders or whatever, any group opinion anyway. So you can just start marching. Take your friends with you in real life or whatever. Call them and yeah.
And I think the biggest one so far on our side was the one in Quebec. No.
Yeah, there was one going on today in Quebec. There was one yesterday in Tel Aviv.
Every time that another one of these happens, right, and the one in France is still going, Europe's starting to kick off more and more. Every time they go off, the elite, the 1%, they're shaking. they see it going down, and there's certain things that we agree on that are we going to come to the point where we don't care what you want to do? You know what I mean? What Macron's plans are, we don't care. These are the things that we want.
A majority of the French just want him to leave. Leave the office.
This past week, I watched a lot of the French news live on YouTube, and then watched some of May, getting trashed by the people telling her to kick rocks. Like, none of these people are listening to the masses that are saying, hey, we're just done. We're sick of you. We're not trying to hear your BS. And they're like, well, we don't have to listen to that. And it blows my mind. But
majority of I heard because of that tax, the price of gasoline was like €7 to a liter.
That's ridiculous, man.
Like 49%.
I mean, I mean, we couldn't even.
That's like $15. That'd be like going to one of our pumps and paying $15 for a gallon. Well, a half a gallon.
I think it disproportionately affected the poor, disproportionately affected the working class, it disproportionately affected farmers and truck drivers. Like out of all of the places where you needed to squeeze a little bit more money, why is it always on our side? Why you got to always take for us, right? Every time you need a piggy bank, the people are not your personal piggy bank for you and your wealthy ass friends.
Yeah, and you're talking about France, right? And France is is a big country. It has many small towns and industry located in certain areas. So they all have to travel a long distances, and for them to pay that much for gasoline, I mean, it is pretty comparable to the United States because they do have to travel that far too. So
yeah, it's a massive country.
Yeah,
I think that's what makes it. By the time, because it's so massive and so diverse, when people do get their shit together in one unit, it becomes that unstoppable force. And France, and for arguably one reason or another, it's always had that bit of diversity. So when they do finally hit something on the head, it takes off like that because the rest of the world is just as diverse.
The saddest part, all this fuel tax and stuff, gasoline's been obsolete for over 30, 40 years now, and it's like they're just not only forcing us to use fossil fuels, but then they're choking you out because that's what they're forcing you to use,
Yeah, where they we already look. There is a giant fusion reactor in the sky, so powerful enough it will burn some of our brothers and sisters' skin, right? And they act like the only way to get power is from fossil fuels, and we know that to be a lie. We know that the future is in green energy. We know that it's better for the people. My car running on electricity, me being able to charge it from the sun with my roof.
Oh yeah, on the West Coast, they're already installing hydrogen stations all up and down the West Coast as they're trying to promote fuel cell technology in North America. But I believe that will be something that's trending in the next 20 years.
But I mean, that's the point. It's it's not, I would say less than that because of the fact that it's been back. When he was saying 30 years, they have been actively trying to suppress technology.
Oh yeah. Fuel cell technology has been around since the 70s, and I believe it was originally used for they were going to use it for NASA applications, but they found out it actually had practical applications.
But the computing power of people like us, we've got more computing power between us than the entire world had 20 years ago, 10 years ago, right? There's things that we can figure out in our basements now that we would have never, it would have taken $100 million to fund it. Now we can say, hey, I've developed a new battery the size of a soda can that'll power your house. I'm going to put it on Kickstarter, right? I'm going to pass the video around on YouTube. That kind of stuff you didn't have the ability to do 20 years ago. But the fact is, we will catch up so quick, not because these are new breaking technologies. It's because we've been held back for so long. We should have figured this shit out already. It's like it comes to the point where it's obvious, where you have 11-year-old girls in Africa coming up with fuel systems, not because it's groundbreaking technology. It's because it's so fucking obvious an 11-year-old can do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The dumber they keep us, the more they can profit from us. You know? And it's just sad.
They've came out and said it, right? Keep the population ignorant, right? Keep them fighting each other. Divide and conquer is a no-no. Right? Yeah. They've done it for so long, it's became completely normal to us, which it shouldn't be. You know that the reason that they would like to stop funding schools is to keep you dumber than a rock. So you don't raise your hand and be like, oh, wait a minute, you said this before, right? Oh, wait a minute, you lied to me already, right? You talk about Vietnam and not the Gulf of Tonkin. How? Why? It's only one sentence. Right?
Yeah.
It has to do with
what?
Ignorant. Nobody raises their hand and says the Gulf of Tonkin because it's not, you don't realize that we were a war with a false flag, right? That makes you raise your hand every time they do the drum to war and be like, hey, this wasn't the same bullshit you played in Vietnam, was it? This isn't the same bullshit you played at the Gulf of Tonkin, is it? Because you're not educated. They specifically not educated you.
Yeah, well, with France, they're just like putting like a big burden upon the poor because they're all driving old cars. They can't switch to an electric car, and they're being forced to do it now because these taxes are like raised so fucking high, and they're going to do the same here because they're saying my country, the Netherlands, has to pay 1,000 billion now towards
$1 trillion.
Climate.
Oh my god!
$1 trillion, yeah, and we only have 17 million people. That means we have to pay $60,000 each. Every woman and child has to pay $60,000 in taxes. Every child that's born.
I wonder.
Say
we can't pay that, so we have to protest. We can't
it's
pay
not
that.
You can't. It's that why pay? No.
And that's the deal. Like maybe it's not just now, but 1,000 years ago when they came out and said whatever number that was, we should have looked at them and been like, no, we're not gonna do that. But thanks. Oh, it's gonna cost $1 trillion. Okay, please go away now.
Yeah, like there's like a trillion. There's like we have like a country that's the size of Los Angeles alone, right? And we have to pay like $1 trillion. Imagine like Los Angeles has to pay $1 trillion, like every citizen. Like we just can't do it, so we have to protest, and we're not going to pay it. So this will eventually become like a revolution. So yeah.
You said, this affects the poor, more than it affects anyone else. And I would say, honestly, have they ever designed a system that didn't affect the poor?
Yeah.
No, because that's the first ones it always affects.
Yeah, there's like a billionaire in the world could come together and fix most of the world's problems, right? That it would affect the billionaire class, the elite. It never does. It only ever affects the poor. They only build systems that affect the poor.
Yeah.
You got people that are you got 10 yachts. 10 yachts. You only build systems that affect the poor. You got 5 yachts because you were a good guy. At 10 yachts, you fucking people over. That's the only way you get 10 yachts.
And then you got preachers out there, begging their congregations for new jet planes, not because the other one's bad, because he just wants the newer model.
Oh, Cephalon dollar.
Oh, we got Cephalon. We got the Olsteins. Cephalon dollar hit his people up. Now I will give Cephalon dollar this, right? After looking over it, he said, he doesn't need the third private jet. He got a Bentley instead. So everybody can set at ease that Cephalon dollar's fucking butt cheeks will be wrapped in ostrich skin when he's going back and forth to preach. What a bunch of fucking bullshit.
Yeah, well, I mean, how much of that is actually like corporate money and how much of it is actually from his congregation? You know what I mean? It's kind of a question there. And then the other question is, all these people actually care enough to make sure he has that stuff? And you have to ask yourself, is that really a well society?
Oh, people are desperate.
Yeah, I mean, really, it's like,
there's always now they say, hey, we're the church, we need you to send us $10. Before it was, we're the church, we need you to sacrifice one of your children to us, right?
Right.
Like when they had the ability, they've always kind of played on human spirituality. People give the Cephalon dollar because they feel if they give $1 or $10 or $20 to him, that their lives are somehow going to be better, and he spins that. It's a hustle. right? If God loves me, which is why I have all of this great stuff, and ignore the fact that I did it off the backs of my congregation. If God, and we've been through this, I personally I fucking hate Cephalodollar, and I don't throw the hate word around. It is my personal goal to undo that motherfucker, right? I want that Bentley, motherfucker, anyway. Right? Like, it's a hustle, and it's the same one. The church, whether it's here, whether it's the ancient pharaohs, whether it's the Aztecs, right? They always need your stuff. They always need gold. They always need money. God always needs your shit, and that's just the same game that they've always spun. Up until the last 300 years, you used to be able to literally pay for your sins, whereas where that word comes from. So each sin had a dollar amount, a money amount attached to it. If you did owed the church $100, that's what the word paying for your sins means. That hustle dropped away at kind of the turn of the century, but that's how it used to run.
And and then you look back at like ancient societies, like in the pyramids around the world, and people would show up and they're like, "Well, what do y'all do with all this gold?" And they're like, "It's not our gold; it's the God's gold."
Hey, it's God's gold.
They're like, that's not our shit. That's whoever's stuff, but it ain't ours. And all these, throughout history, it's just been, it's just so funny how things get so distorted so bad.
Yeah, right away. That first guy that came out in the Stone Age, that came out of his tent and said, "Hey, I just talked to God. He said, I need all of your stuff and I need you to kill your neighbors." We should have told him to take his crazy ass back into the fucking tent. But instead, we've made this like a staple of human society. Right?
Yeah.
Bask at the pyramids or the great churches and chapels throughout Europe, but they were all built on the backs of people to gods that don't exist. Whether you believe Jesus existed or not, Jesus don't need you to build a fucking church, right? Jesus exists in the entire world. God built the entire world. He don't need you to build anything. He built the world in its perfection, the universe in its perfection. All of those things were built to man. Imagine if those resources were spent on our infrastructure. The pyramids are great. Imagine if they were spent if all of that knowledge and information and building was spent to make Egypt better, right? Imagine if that was spent on the people. Instead, we still look up to it. Oh, the pharaohs. Oh, the.
Well, I don't know. I kind of got this belief of pretty strongly that the pyramids were actually like a battery or a power station. I don't believe that they were a tomb, and I believe that. They have, I don't know, maybe I'm kind of going far off on that, but I kind of believe that all the other pyramids around the world and the Great Pyramid are connected for some reason, almost like capacitors on a motherboard. Does that make any sense to y'all?
Well, number one, the pyramids of the world, the building structure of the pyramids seems to be a relic from an ancient society that was on Earth. That's kind of undeniable. You go to any world from Ukraine, they've got ancient pyramids up there that all kind of sit in the same places and sit on places that are ley lines, that are magnetic lines.
Right. And then you even look at the magnetic flow of the type of stones that they're built out of. Does that make sense? How the type of stone, some of them have more conductivity than other of the stones.
And you've got things like the Baghdad battery. We see
right.
Ancient knowledge, and from the pyramids specifically, like for our listeners, there has never been a sarcophagus found in the pyramids. The kings are
right. Oh, it's a tomb. No.
Yeah, but to be a tomb, there has to be a pharaoh in it, and the pharaohs
right.
The Valley of the Kings, where all pharaohs are built.
If they can convince you it's a tomb, from the age that you can start listening until you can start researching, then hey, they got you dumbed down.
Well, and that's like there's a couple of things that are at play when people talk about, especially when you look at the ancient Egyptian societies, Eastern European, and the Americans, which all the way down to South America, there are pyramids. Up here in Wisconsin, oldest known societies on the planet was here in Wisconsin, and we know nothing about them besides the giant pyramids that they left that we don't know anything about. It's like when you start looking into it, and you notice that all of these people are all of our shared ancestors. If you're from Europe, the ancient society of the Celts and Celtic traditions and all of that stuff that were across Europe have to be erased. Those people were too stupid to make a pyramid, right? That's what they're telling you, right? Their people were smart enough, the English, the, this or that, whatever you want to put, they built shit, the Romans built shit, but the great peoples of the ancient world, they were all too stupid to build stuff. And that's the underlying thing. But that's why they keep all of that information removed, secret, or dumbed down. Because if you start thinking, wait a minute, if my people built pyramids, right, we were once a great people, why are we not a great people anymore? Why are you feel like you're better than me? Why have you displaced, or thrown away technology that you may have stolen from us, right? All of those things are at play to try to discount a shared ancient knowledge that we have. And it's weird to see peoples that would seem like they're disconnected, where you'd say, well, what is this place in Egypt, and this place in Europe, and this place in Eastern Europe, and this place in the Americas? How can they be connected? And it's because you're hiding something that's right there in front of us. You don't have to be a historical scholar to say, hey, wait a minute, how come all these pyramids all over the world look exactly the same?
Yeah. You don't. I'm not sure if you can blame all the archaeologists for it, because we actually are probably like humanity is probably having like memory loss, because we did have like big libraries were burned, like Alexandria, Constantinople. All these libraries were burned, and a lot of knowledge is lost, of course. And what they're doing now is kind of just guessing, but because you can clearly see that the pyramids are like built in a way that is like much more advanced than like mainstream archaeology claims, and they're using similar symbolism to like pyramids in South America and stuff. They're pretty much the same building methods too, and
even animals that they've that are on the pyramids in South America, right? Certain animals and hieroglyphs that are also in pyramids around the world that by current historical records really shouldn't exist. But we have to put into play the racism that was in historical documentation until pretty much like recent modern time.
Yeah.
But they're already going through all of these people are animals, so they couldn't have built this. Somebody else had to, right? And a lot of archaeology started from that mindset.
Yeah, and you're also talking about animals. They're also like depicting in South America certain animals that never lived in South America, but they were like commonly worshipped also by like Egyptians and stuff. So they use like the similar animals still from their originating culture. So yeah, you can pretty much prove there was that they were like once global, or at least they traveled across the globe at some point. So.
Well, and we put it in, when Christopher Columbus and all of these guys, and then they like completely ignore the fact that the Vikings had raids into England and into Europe, but they traveled and traded openly with the rest of the world, Asia and Africa, right, all the way to the New World. They found fishing hooks and jewelry and stuff from all over the world, and it's like a weird erased history. It's right there in front of us, but erased.
Yeah, the Viking story is very obvious too. I mean, they went to Greenland. That is pretty much confirmed. They actually had like a colony in Greenland, Newfoundland, I think that's in front of the USA. But they also went into the USA, and there are some traces still found of that. So yeah, but before that, also missionaries from other locations, and I think Asian travelers also went there before. So but about the Indians, how did the Indians actually ever get there? That's like much earlier, of course, maybe like 11,000 years ago or something.
Well, and people move in waves sometimes, the same way that immigration happens now. So they were starting to look at that. There was, even some Samoan influences, being that the islands, the Micronesians and Polynesians, pretty much populated the world at some point. That they may have had some connections and some things to do with it. That has to do with fishing hooks that have been found around the world. But that immigration around the world is a lot like it is now. You'll have certain times where this group of people moved into the Americas. You have another group of time where they move farther into Asia, or they move, across the water this way or this way because of volcanic eruption or storms, or for loss of food. All the war, all the thousands or millions of reasons that you leave, that story of immigration has kind of always been part of humanity. Whether we were moving up into Europe at the same time or right after that we left to go into Asia. That seems to have happened in waves around the world, and maybe several times. We may have given this a go several times and just not gotten it together.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I think they're turning up the heat. The truck moved a little farther down. I know. Did I send you guys the pictures of our Jared and Jimmy and all of our best fans?
Yeah, it's cold as fuck.
The U-Haul, the U-Haul's down at this end of the street now. So we got a U-Haul now that follows us around when we live stream, so they can have all of their recording devices. I took the picture of it, and the cop that they've got dressed up, or the agent, or whatever you want to call it, is dressed up in a FedEx outfit, right?
He's just been sitting there for an hour?
Oh, yeah, they're still sitting. There's the one I sent you, he's sitting right next to me. I wave at them. Wow.
Oh my god, man. These three-letter agencies, like, why are you using all this equipment to listen to us? Just use your phone or whatever. You can just listen to our live show. Our live stream is on YouTube. This is like...
show. I would have told them if they would have asked me.
What
are you guys doing? Oh, me personally? I'm here to fuck Monsanto. I don't know what these guys are doing.
Yeah, it's kind of odd, too, because there's, like, no other cars on the street. Just that U-Haul. It's kind of obvious.
Oh,
wow.
A U-Haul with a FedEx driver. Like, FedEx ran out of trucks yesterday. I couldn't notice a U-Haul with a FedEx driver in it. Like, why not? Why didn't you put on the plain clothes, guys? Who are running?
He's all quick. We need to get on. You need to disguise really quick. Yeah, this will work.
Fake mustache. Like searching for the right fake mustache.
Yeah.
It's smart to worry now, but wait until Amazon starts delivering to the U-Haul, right? Then they're getting their disguises in.
Oh yeah. Like all these drones flying around.
I imagine the Beastie Boys song, right, where they're all dressed up in the like 1980s.
Oh, the Sabotage.
Sabotage. Yeah. Do you like that they, that it's a job that they hate, or do you think that there might be a little bit, because they're sitting here for 2 hours listening to us, they know that we're not, you know what I mean, like we're gonna get on here and plan operations live, right? That doesn't make any fucking sense.
Yeah, they're gonna commit a felony. They are. I know they are.
on live radio, that's what we want to do.
You know,
they like that they want to sit in and listen to and be the guys that are on here. I sometimes wonder.
You know, this year it's a Million Mass March in Tampa, Florida. They had more police there on motorcycles and everything else to just walk with us while we protest, which for our safety and stuff. But they had more police called into duty to protect us from our protesting than we had protesters. I mean, seriously, and they were like there in full force, like in case, because our protest was set up around the time work got off,
right?
And I guess maybe they were really worried about us trying to shut down streets. It's like, yo, we're not Black Bloc, man. We're here feeding the homeless, meeting, do a little march, but we're not here to like hurt nobody,
If there's
it was like a 3-to-1 ratio, my wife says, cops to protesters. We're like, wow, man.
If anything else, activists, protesters, right? People that are hitting the streets, right? People that are doing this, we are some serious job creators. If you look at it, they have had to create entire organizations, right? $1 billion budgets, hire thousands and thousands of cops and infiltrators and all of that. We are great for the economy.
Yeah, we are. I mean, we're building jobs. Trump ain't got nothing on us.
Oh, it's actually true. Yeah, maybe they really don't have other stuff to do. They really have to go listen to us or whatever. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, so many of them have jobs that they can't talk about work outside of work because they're doing government work that they don't even know is government work. And so then you have like us, and then you have people that or they need a job. So here, we'll just create other people to watch these people, out in the public. It's terrible, man.
It's like really watch them 3-to-1. Like,
yeah.
Who knows? by the time we left Standing Rock, and we'll know the number in like years. For like, I'm pretty sure there was like me and I think 10 other people that were at that were left there, and there was still maybe 1,000 people that were around us. Those 1,000 people were all law enforcement. We're all infiltrators. Right?
Isn't that crazy? I mean, just
for infiltrators than you did water protectors. There's only 10 water protectors there.
The amount of people, man.
Right, that was like 99% native and like 1% white, to the like minimum government required hiring practices in that area. So like 1 out of every 3 people is black, 1 of every 5 people is Latino. You'd walk into a place that literally had a population that was 99% native, and you have pretty much a slice of the American demographic in one spot in the middle of North Dakota. Crazy. And them not think that we knew that they were infiltrators.
Oh yeah, and they also needed military vehicles to stop you guys.
Oh well, they just the city there just got their first tactical forklift. If you guys haven't seen it, $100 million from the Department of Homeland Security.
Oh my god!
So this is a forklift that they've put like armor plating on, and then forklift place as right. There's like a little platform, other bulletproof spot where like guys with machine guns or whatever oppressive shit they need to put up there are. But in all actuality, I shit you not, it is a forklift that they just welded
plates of metal onto.
I think some native dude just fucked them over. You know what I mean? Like called up. Yeah, this is John Edwards. We're selling a tactical police unit to help terrorism, and then showed up. You literally got a forklift with somebody on it. You're gonna need a tactical forklift to move those.
Yeah, here's the deal. Is like I don't understand why they needed all that force when nobody had a gun.
They were trying to sell them to us. We had it set up one time in one of the tents where we had the undercover NSA agent trying to sell weapons to the undercover ATF agent. It was fucking. Oh God. And both trying to like him and Haw. You say the things that you, to incriminate, to incriminate the person, but so that you're not incriminating yourself at the same time, and they're both trying to dance circles around each other on where to pick the guns up, where to do all of it. We're just sit back there fucking laughing.
Yeah, let me just take pictures of this felony right now,
I mean, literally come in the tent. I heard you guys were real hardcore. Yeah, we're we might have some guns in the truck. Dude, this is North Dakota. You think we can't get fucking guns? This is
some guy with like a fake mustache was like, "What?"
No, we've got some supplies, maybe even some fire arrows. You guys interested? Yeah, man, we're interested. I'll meet you. Oh my god! Like you just have to look at the spot. That's like coming up in Texas and being like, "Hey, you guys looking for any firearms in Texas?" Oh man, I don't know where to find a gun in Texas.
Yeah,
all of this actually makes me hopeful when I hear all of this. The amount of money they're throwing against this and the amount of people. We're here with 4 people on the show. We don't make any money. We don't have anybody. Yeah. We just sit around here. Throw everything you got. Like, if you would give us like even 1% of that amount of money, I mean, your government will fall for sure.
Yeah, because you're exactly right. I have a few dollars. My bills are paid, but you can't take nothing else away from me. So if you gave me a little bit, we'd have a lot further reach.
Oh, that's the deal. If we even had, I mean, when he's talking percentages, when you look at what they're throwing at us to keep people silenced, and I mean, not just our show. I don't want to get in. You guys know we don't get into the ego shit, right?
No. I get.
Right, but when you think of like the propaganda, CNN, Fox News, all of those places, it keeps information down, right? That costs them billions. The police forces, the monitoring, right? The control of Facebook pages, the monitoring of your Facebook pages. When you put all of these things together, it is such a phenomenal amount of money, and we're able to get the word out pretty freely, you know, for all they're putting into it. Nothing. Yeah. If we had $1 million, right, it would probably be over. I mean, that's honestly the truth. Like the actual, when it comes, and that's just in our little group, because there's people that are going to spend things on Ferraris and cars and all of that stuff. But I mean, 100 million put to the people. You know what I mean? Put to actually fighting the power, right? Actually feeding the poor, actually getting, veterans' homes, actually helping, homelessness. When you think of the power that we would have when you said, okay, you know what, we're done with this, right? Here's $20 million. I want, right, 20,000 houses, right? However you could go to a real estate agent and be like, look, I got a shitload of money. Find me X amount of fucking houses and just end veterans homelessness. Do you know the bloody nose that would give people whose entire livelihood depends on collecting money to not fix veterans homelessness?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, throw your money against that for sure. I mean, you could fix homelessness in no time. I mean,
and once you do it once, it becomes, it gets that snowball effect, right? Where it's like, well, wait a minute, if we give our cash to this place and they actually fix something, it keeps flowing in. And then you got places like the Clinton, fund, they got $2.2 billion. They can't fix Flint's water, right? $2.2 billion in profit, right? Imagine if you're the company that fixes Flint's water. They ain't getting that $2.2 billion again.
I can't even imagine such amounts. I mean, we're like, no, really, I can repeat it again. We're doing everything for free, and we're holding up. I mean, this is like episode, was it like 140 or something?
134.
Yeah, I mean, we've always done it for free. We spent like all these hours on it, and I mean, I don't get it. Like,
but that's we're going up against an entity in general that will spend $1 trillion a year to try to fight a guy in a tent.
Yeah, yeah.
Right, and that's where you get into these. They'll spend $100 million to try to stop the Anonymous Bites Back show, right? And we're putting no money into it. We're always going to win.
Yeah, well, I know they're actually in your street, like listening to you and stuff. That's nothing, but like that's incredible to me. Like,
and I mean, they are here like clockwork because I had to bust ass to get here, which means they had to bust ass to get here.
No, I know they're fucking around with you because they did it before. Like they were always fucking with your connection and all these things. I don't know. That's like it's shocking to me because that money could be spent so much better. And yeah,
right.
Yeah, like homeless veterans. I mean, like it shocks me that there are so many homeless veterans that actually fight for the United States. And
we've had that guy that came up that was, or that couple that was a scam, right? They said that this homeless veteran helped them with $25 at a gas station, so they raised a bunch of money to get him a house. They raised $400,000, right? Days. It turned out to be a scam. And like out of all of these, our page does the same thing, right? We want to fucking end veterans homelessness, raise the money, buy a shitload of houses, give them away to veterans, right? We've raised $1,800 total, right? Like, and we were talking about the spiritual scammers, right? Clifton Dollar has enough fucking money to buy 5 private jets and a fucking Bentley, right?
That's so much.
Yeah, that's just shameful, man.
That money, without amount of money. But if you're
he's serving the Lord, but he's sure serving humanity,
Look, God does not need money. Might need a lot. He don't need money.
I think if he did, he could just create it, right?
Well,
I mean, he's smart, right? He don't need us to give it to him. I'm sure he could create it.
The absolute of the universe, multiverse, and all existence of we know about, right, needs a Bentley. That makes no sense.
Yeah, that's why they put occult symbols on the money, so that way it like counterbalance it, right? With God, like, hey, maybe this isn't coming from God, it's playing.
If there's an ATM in your church, you are at the wrong church.
Yeah, by far. Wow.
I've been and it's one of those things. It's like, look, if God wanted you to be on the other side of the world, you would be on the other side of the world. Doesn't need a jet. Like that's just insanity. If you believe in that line of thinking, in absolute power, in the Christian God, whatever God, if that power exists, he doesn't need a car. He doesn't need a plane.
Now, if you said, "Hey, I need a jet so I can go feed homeless people or people that are without in other nations," you better be gone every weekend. You better not even have time for a service, in my opinion. You follow me? Yeah, have service wherever you're landing at to feed people, or help people. But other than that, yeah.
But that's the truth. That was Jesus' sermon, right? When he gave the sermon on the rock, he handed out food. That was the sermon. He was there to feed people, not fucking sermon. Right? Didn't need a church, didn't need millions of dollars, didn't need any of that stuff. We need those things. I think that God can inspire you to help others. When you look at the things that they have and what they could have done with that, it's obviously evil. If there is a devil, he's there, right? The devil's a guy fucking standing in front of your shoes in a suit, right? Scamming poor people for their last dollar, right? That is the devil. Now, whether you believe in spirit, that doesn't particularly matter. You're still taking advantage of people, and that is always wrong. There is not a single religion on the planet that says take advantage of your congregation. But I don't know. I've always like, what scam do we have to like put in a religious component? Like, what scam do we have to run? God told me that you should give me this money. Right? It'll make your life better. Look, nobody can promise you a blessing. You can only promise people that they can be someone else's blessing. All of the people that donated to Cephalodoctor and the Olsteins, they are the Olsteins' blessing. You bless them, not God. Right? And they did nothing with that blessing. Most that they can do is be a blessing to somebody else. That's spirituality. That is what God acts. That's all.
Yeah, well, I think you can call it like demonic with or without like a devil existing, but I feel like it is also like we don't need to make an excuse for these scammers. Like it is just them doing it, so it is. I'm convinced it's just them. It is like the evil of some humans doing this, and if they want to use like the devil or whatever, their devil worship as an excuse, I mean, I don't believe in that. Like it's them doing this. These are evil people, and that's what we're dealing with. That's how I feel about it. But
I definitely,
I think at their core, some of these people that are running the show they really have an evilness to them. No question. Yeah. I don't think they even know what good is.
There's an ego component. If you look at like the kings of Europe, right? They believed that they were the vassals of God, right? The reason that they were fucking people over is because God gave them power. I know and how much of these guys they really believe that what they're doing is somehow supposed to be that way. You know, the reason that they spend $100 million on a Ferrari is because they're loved by God. I don't know how many of them truly believe that they're blessed like that. You know, that somehow God cares more for them than he does about a starving child.
Yeah, with this royalty, it is like that. They actually do. They're actually taught that they are like superior to normal people, and they have the rights to be like super rich and happy while others are starving. They actually do believe that, I think.
It exists today. You know, look at Saudi Arabia. If you're the king, you can have people killed. If I got somebody killed, right?
They don't even let women drive for the most part, you know? It's
If you're rich and powerful, you can murder people. If you're George Bush, right, you can invade a country and murder people. Right? You can get with that. That is the rich and powerful. That has not particularly changed. If you're a banker, you can cause millions of people to be starve knowingly for your own profit, and there is absolutely no repercussions for it. You know, you look at the Food for Oil program, right? We got a lot of fucking oil. There is still no fucking food, right? And they never said, okay, well, you made $100 million off of this in profit. We're taking that $100 million and giving it to the people that you fucked over.
Yeah.
Right, but there's no, once you get to a power level, there are no
water in Michigan, but...
Yeah, my wife said, look at Nestle still getting water out of Lake Michigan area, you know, for free and billing people for it, you know.
There's not a person in prison for poisoning Flint's water.
Yeah.
Once you
Nestle
add
is the-
anything to water, it's no longer water because now it has another chemical in it. So I don't see how they get away with water doesn't have to be labeled, because once you add something to it, it's no longer water, whether it's green or you follow me?
Well, and they like to up this is an acceptable level of lead. This is an acceptable level of radiation. This is acceptable level. No. There is supposed to be nothing other than water in my fucking water, right? Everything else are chemicals that you assholes are dumping in it. There's not an acceptable level of lead in my water. The acceptable level is 0, right? But they'll come out, it's an acceptable level of asbestos. No, there should be no asbestos in my environment. And they'll come and pay for it every couple of years. They just up the level. The world's poisoned with radiation. We'll just up the level of acceptable radiation. Boom, fixed, no problems.
In my area, we've been dealing with this a lot here lately in the news with the local school district having high levels of lead in the waters. Now, the water sits in the pipes for so many hours before they do the test, which lets any metals leach into it. So your levels are going to be a little higher if the water's not running, of course, right? Well, they keep trying to say, well, this is what the EPA says is acceptable, but the actual amount they say is acceptable is 0. But the EPA says 100 parts per million, or I don't know, 1,000. I don't know. It was an odd number. And I'm here saying, well, these are kids we're talking about.
Food that's made.
Right. And these levels were found in like cooking, the cafeteria, water supplies, and different stuff like that.
They'll play with the numbers, especially with children. They'll say, okay, well, this is the acceptable level of, let's say, with a lot of the places, it's straight up lead. So let's just put that, this is the acceptable level of lead. If you drank 1, liter of water a day or whatever number they need you to. But unfortunately, you took a bath in it. You breathed it in your shower. You ate
your skin is like a sponge, man. It absorbs externally as well as internally,
So then you find it, it's like, yeah, that was the acceptable level, but your entire environment is so saturated with chemicals that's in, they don't have a study that says, okay, a child exposed to it for 10 years connected with all these other chemicals, aerosols and, chemicals in your food, what the reactions of those are by the time you're 50, right? There aren't. I will say this, if the government comes out and says this is acceptable to drink or has acceptable levels of whatever in it, that shit will kill you. Because everything that they've ever came out and said this is an okay, acceptable level of having, turns out to fucking kill you. DDT, asbestos, lead, right? Came out and said,
mercury.
Yeah, mercury. Oh, yeah, it's all good. Acceptable levels, government mandated. High five, everybody gets it. We'll spray your fucking neighborhoods. It's so good for you. And
we distill our water in our home, man. I run a distiller 24 hours a day.
Yellow number 5. Remember yellow number 5 in fucking everything? Government said it's all good. Last year, the government said that Flint's water was safe to drink, right? Imagine the mother that made her bottle that day, and we're out here screaming, do not believe them, right? 6 months later, it turns out it's not safe to drink. No shit.
No.
But imagine the families that, didn't have, our, I won't say education, but woke. You just don't know. You work a 9-to-5 job. You're an average fucking single mom. You got shit to do. The government that you've been trained to fucking believe came out and said that water is safe, and you made a bottle and gave your baby it for 6 months before they told you it was poison again. But yet you can't, nobody gets hung for that shit, right? That's not, you didn't, it's one of those things.
I thought some of them did go to jail. Some of the people in Flint did go to jail.
Bullshit. Like, what is the we get into this thing. What is the acceptable punishment for poisoning thousands of children's water, let alone the adults?
Death sentence?
I mean, in my mind, I'm not a big proponent of the death sentence. You know what I mean? I'm into, child molestation, and that's about it. But when we start getting into this, you knowingly poisoned thousands and thousands of people's water, possibly, killed a couple hundred children in your area for profit, motherfucker, I should drown your ass.
Yeah.
Or it's one of those, look, we're just gonna drop you off in the middle of the street, and the neighborhood that you poison, they can do whatever they want to do with you.
Yeah, that would be acceptable.
if those mothers that lost their children, if they feel that it's in their, you know, in their rights to fucking rip you apart, then that's what you get, man. And I wouldn't say that would be out of line, but in truth, there are no real punishments for. I mean, look, if you look at what the Michael Cohen thing and all of that stuff, right? You get 3 years in prison, 3 years in prison for fucking.
And he's crying about it. Like,
yeah, that's what I mean. Like, they kind of gave him a lot of time for like lying in the courts. Like, I've known people that have lied in the courts that have gotten less time.
Oh,
dude, I've done 60 months in Texas, man. Three years in federal prison. He's going to a country club.
That's true. He is going to go. He is probably going to get priority. You know.
I got more time for overdosing on heroin. You know, come on.
As a 15-year-old black kid with some weed in his pocket, right? Minimum sentence, 10 years. Right? Name all of the things. Fuck, imagine if he's a priest that fucks children, right? That rapes children. Fuck, you'll get a slap on the wrist.
18 months. I'm serious. 18 months.
House arrest.
The one in Pennsylvania, he just got a letter from the Pope on how great of a guy and respect and blah 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 blah. You're a child rapist.
Isn't he gonna get like? If he does federal time, he's only gonna do like 80%. So he's gonna be out in like what, 2 years, 6 months?
Yeah, and then he'll have downward departures, and if he takes some classes in there, he can get a little bit off of that. So he's looking at maybe 2 years.
Yeah,
I got
longest.
I got a pack of menthol cools for anybody that shortens that fucking sentence.
Well,
but I mean,
usually they move them around, right, to like another district. Or something.
because of who he is, of course they're gonna be they're gonna be moving him around quite a bit.
Right, but no matter what, wherever he goes, he'll be able to carry it like $10 in change on him, plus other money in his commissary car. I mean, yeah, it's federal. It's a daycare, man. It's
sometimes
soda drinking fountains to get your own refills in their chow halls. It's not like that.
Fucking A, man. I'm popular today. No, it's one of those things where, look, I wouldn't, I'm not telling anybody to be violent, but prison is one of those places where child molesters don't do well. And oddly enough, look, if they can get the Whitey Bulger, they can get to your ass.
He won't. I guarantee he won't get treated like Barrett Brown did in federal prison.
Yeah.
No.
There's people out there. There's people out there that are just waiting. You know what I mean? That are just waiting. They put
at least there's some justice then.
No, would they give that little girl 30 years or something like that for killing the guy that was raping her?
Yeah, somebody I knew. It was like through a coworker. I think this is what happens when you know somebody in the Justice Department. Somebody got a 30. What was it? He got $37,000 bail amount for attempted homicide.
Nice.
Yeah, because his parents knew somebody, because his parents are friends with somebody in the Justice Department, and he's the aggressor.
Oh, that guy that was that was in Alaska, right? Fucking pulled over, picked up a native woman, fucking was choking her to death, thought she was dead, like masturbated on her. Some real fucking sick shit. They let him out that day. No bond.
There was a teacher arrested here not long ago for inappropriate contact with a middle school student, and they were out that same day on $30,000 bond.
Yeah, like it's just that our justice system is so unjust, and it's all like, look, our justice system is one job and one job only, and that is to make money and incarcerate the poor, right?
Yeah.
Everything else is just, they don't care about child molestation. That's a rich man's fucking crime, right? They don't give a fuck about that. Drugs, if it's debtor's prison, right? They've got to make money off it. That's not justice, because we have the most unjust system that you can imagine. Robots would do a better job. When you think of like, oh, this is a cold-hearted, unthinking, unflinching robot, right? It would actually do a better job. This is the punishment for this crime always. It's not affected by how much money its friends got, what connections it has, whether it likes you, whether you're black or white or anything. It's not affected by any of this. It could be heartless, but it would do a better job than the corrupt justice system we have now. Where it's like, oh, well, we caught this kid with some little bit of weed, so we don't have room for a child molester. You don't have room for a child molester? Get bent.
Jesus.
It's just sad. Yeah, I'm scrolling through Drudge Report, and it's like there's not even an article I want to click on. I mean, granted, I've read most of them, you know, but I mean, there's nothing new.
I got something, but I'm trying to confirm it because RT is claiming that Julian Assange had called RT and filed this report. I'm not sure if it's legit because I haven't seen anybody else. I think if I don't know, John, you might want to clarify that, you know?
Yeah, I'm looking at it. Just
yeah, it looks like
a second.
It looks like it's looking like Julian had called RT and reported only with them, but I haven't verified it from any other source.
Well, I mean, we don't have very many outs at the moment. I'm hoping, and you guys, you know, if there's anybody that's listening, when we do have the Yellow Vest protest, if that takes off in England, I think right in front of the embassy would be a perfect spot. Every Saturday, right? And Julian feels like walking out when we've got, you know, a couple thousand people there and disappearing into the crowd of Yellow Vests, I think that would be the time to do it.
Well, this article is also claiming that the embassy is spying on him on behalf of the FBI.
Well, I mean, they're probably spying on behalf of several places, including themselves.
Yeah, the news was actually coming from the Venezuelan broadcaster Telesur. These are the guys that were also deleted by Facebook, all their pages.
So who did Julian call? Did he? Do you think he actually called them on Skype?
Well, Telesur, they say it is closely aligned with Russian state-run news outlet RT, but they said he spoke with reporters, so it doesn't really make clear if he spoke with RT or with Telesur, but he actually did speak to reporters, and yeah, he said that the FBI is spying on him and pressuring Ecuador to get him to the U.S.
I mean, the FBI...
Are they giving him back internet access then? Is that what...
I'm assuming if you called somebody on Skype.
Right.
But they remember there was limited on what he could and couldn't do. You know?
Well, I love it if... you know, on here,
so he can make some contact.
Well, his best chance is with the Russians at the moment for all sorts of reasons. Not because they love him, because they'll use that information against people that they see as their opponents. That's given. But because of RT's connection to the Russian government, I think that's probably one of the few places he can get away with.
He is actually welcome in Russia, but I think they're just not doing that to avoid any of such stories of him working with the Russians or whatever. Because he will, of course, he is welcome. They also harbor Snowden, and yeah.
Yeah, I mean, fuck you to the West, which I think, you know, look, you don't want people to release like weird, corrupt bullshit that you're involved in. Don't do weird, corrupt bullshit.
Yeah, but the weird stuff is like WikiLeaks did actually also release like 89,000 files about the Russians, and they seem to have a lot more respect for journalism at this moment than like countries like the US do. I mean, they're still saying like whistleblowers like that are allowed in, but maybe they have the benefits that they maybe say like let's get some information from him or whatever. But
well, release always important. So you somewhere that, you know, it would be rather detrimental to us to have like a personal email of, you know, one of the administration wanting somebody killed or assassinated, you know, like they did the journalist in England, you know, where they poisoned his soup. Where letting that out on someone that you're trying to tout as a strong man isn't always negative. So the people having a small amount of fear that you could have them poisoned, sometimes even respect, that you could get to them, that you are a strong guy, violent, blah, 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 blah. All of the things that are the illusion of power, they let information out that would seem detrimental to us normally. You know, oh, Putin had this guy killed. There's a part of the population that sees that as being a strong Russian figure.
Yeah. Well, if the goal is to like get like certain publications removed or get information out of Assange, it's all useless because he might be the public face of WikiLeaks, but he doesn't control what is on that site. There are a whole lot of people are working there, including journalists and hackers, and he's not alone. He's just the public face of it. Like, they're
Well,
not going to get anything removed.
In that situation, you know, he's became a symbol for freedom beyond more than just him himself, right? Like Julian is, you know, in freedom of information and getting out information and in calling out our government, he really has became more of a symbol from that, from more a symbol of that than even the immensity of any of the stuff that he released. It's a weird, you know, it is a situation. Normally, you're dead before that happens. You know, Che Guevara, you know, MLK, all of that. He's one of the few people, him and, you know, probably our guy in South Africa. Goodness. He's the head of UN.
Oh, I don't know his name.
I'm killing it here, guys. Like the most South African ever. Oh.
Diantward?
No.
I'm playing.
They're pretty, yeah, pretty close. No. Come on, guys. Goodness, he did he did 30 years in prison.
Nelson Mandela.
Mandela, geez, you know, Nelson Mandela pulled it off as well.
Oh my God.
Freedom within his lifetime, where Julian Assange, I feel, has became that kind of symbol for freedom more than even what he did, being as important or the information that he released as being important.
Yeah, I still feel bad for that. Like a certain part of Anonymous is no longer in support of WikiLeaks, and that all has to do with like political motivations. Some people being anti-Trump or whatever. They're not getting the full picture. I mean,
but that's good.
WikiLeaks, yeah.
Like for us, that is good because you know what they're saying. You know, for people that don't know, I know we've had some of them on here. Is that you know Julian Assange is a propaganda political tool like all the other propaganda political tools. I personally don't believe that, but having people come out and say that keeps people on their P's and Q's. In the case that it might be true, I'm glad that there's people speaking out and things that don't make sense and things that weren't released were released, all of that. I am kind of glad that there's a dissenting opinion in a time when, you know, I'm always wary of you know, the groupthink, you know. I don't agree with it, but I am happy that they're speaking out and that they are making some of the things that are, you know, questionable at least known.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I can see that. Yeah, I like it just sucks that because he is actually like being threatened so hard right now, and like if your only outlet is like Telesur and RT that you can get your message out, then you know that you are in trouble. Like the Guardian too is like attacking him so bad right now, and
oh yeah, so much so that they have to put up a lawsuit against them because they're lying.
Well, I mean, it's just one of. It's all like, well, what? Oh, the truck's back. The U-Haul's back. Cool. It's just they switched off with the cops. It's one of those weird moments when it's all like, look, we either have free speech or we don't, right? And you guys are actively just trying. It doesn't matter what Julian Assange has to say. He should have the ability to walk around and say whatever he wants. Hence, freedom. And like we're all sorts of, you know, this person, that, whatever. Look, you should be able to walk around and say anything you want on any platform you want without the fear of governments trying to arrest you, murder you, assassinate you, torture you, fucking discredit you, all of it. If they don't like what you're saying, that's too bad.
I'm with that. Watching that evolve into our reality though is not such an easy thing.
Yeah, like it is. I mean, we've kind of.
You have to break a few eggs to make an omelet, you know.
Oh well, the French are involved now, so we'll have good cheese to go with it.
Yeah, that's right on, man. That's pretty good one.
Yeah, but that's a good point because actually the Gilets Jaunes, the Yellow Vests, they will actually have their own leaks about their government too now, and yeah, sites like WikiLeaks would be like the perfect outlet for them to use right now. And
yeah, it really would. That's a very good idea right there. Somebody should run with that one.
Well, and people that are thinking of joining the cause that are in these organizations, they need an outlet.
Yeah.
Yeah, because there is a lot of dirt about the French government. I mean, these people are not protesting for fun. I mean, they all know what's wrong with their government, and they're talking about these inside jobs at like a high level, high politicians and elitists running the country and making these deals in secret, and they need outlets in all kind of ways because the media is not reporting it.
Oh no, even some of the illegal things that have been going on. You know what, Macron attacked Syria, right? Out of nowhere. You know, they're not at war with Syria. It didn't go through their voting process. Nothing. Just made the decision to carpet bomb innocent people on behalf of the French. So there's plenty of things that have gone on. I mean, corruption is the world over. When it comes to the elite, when it comes to the people in power, we've put them and allowed them to be in power for much too long.
Yeah.
So, I mean, whether it's the French government, whether it's the German government, American government, South American governments, they are all corrupt as fuck. One way or another, from one extreme to the other on all sorts of different issues. But at the end of the day, people say follow the money. The thing is, we have to realize it always leads to the same place. It always leads to the same 5,000 people.
Oh, the elite.
But we say it like we don't know. Follow the money. Follow the money. Know where it goes by now? It always goes to the same place. We followed it. We know where it goes. Here are their names.
Yeah, but yet nobody does anything about it.
Well, I don't think it's part of the human condition until one person steps forward. We have it in our intro from what was it, ants?
Yeah.
Right? On why they try to crush us, why we've got, police sitting outside of our house while we're live streaming, right? If one of us shows that you can stand up against the oppressors, right? Everybody will do it. People that would have stood up in 1,000 years, once they see you stand up, once they see you take that first step, right, then they're like, okay, the water's warm, let's do this, right? But it takes that first person to do it, that first group of people, that first step towards revolution. For some reason, because of the human condition, psychology, whatever you want to call it, until one person or one group takes that first step, others won't do it, or until you say it, even though you know it's real. It's that the governments are corrupt, right? Every person on the planet knows that. Whether whether it's village politics, right, or huge corporate oligarchy politics, every person that works, that's on this side, that isn't the elite, knows that the politicians are corrupt, right? That this system is corrupt, that the justice is corrupt. But you have to say it for people to sit back and be like, oh yeah, I guess it is. No shit.
Yeah, and in Europe, it was expected it would be the French. It would either be the British or the French who would rise up, because these two countries, not many countries match the USA with international war and all these things, but France actually comes very close because they're actually one of the few countries that actively still influences Africa. Countries like Algeria and stuff. These are former French colonies, but they are still considered administrative regions of France. They
still pay French taxes in a lot.
Yeah.
So they pay these giant tithes to France for colonialism. Because of colonialism, these countries owe, it's because we fucked you over and took your resources, right? You still owe us money, which is insanity. Like
an African country is still paying money to the French economy. They never asked to be colonized, and they're still paying money to France. How can we even?
Yeah.
Like America, we say we won't at war with a country, but then we've got these factions of our government and our military that are allowed to act without impunity. So you don't have to be at war to send the Marines places. You don't have to be at war to send drone strikes. France has a very similar system. So we don't have to be, and I'm making quotations, at war to send the Foreign Legion. We don't have to be at war to send certain aircraft, to facilitate, to do all of these things. So they get into that same proxy war game that we get into. We're making all the money, we're selling all the weapons, we're killing all the people, but we're not actually at war. Terrorism.
Yeah. I'm real curious to see more about the ruins that they have found in South Africa. These ancient ruins.
Oh, ancient ruins. I wasn't aware that they found anything there.
Yeah, there's like these in the south part of Africa. There's these buildings that date back like pre-pyramid, and oh man, and but nobody's going down there to really dig in too deep because of all the red tape, I guess. I don't know, but there's like
you are so fucking on. You have no idea. Because this is one of those things that they like specifically. We were talking before about like oppressing information. So yeah. Ruins. Some of them were even places that have been like bought up in these giant farms that the Dutch had bought, and all of that crap. But
there's like stone terraces that stretch out for like good ways. I mean, you can see them from aerial, photography.
And these,
it's like there was huge civilizations there that they're under feet and feet of sediment now, but I mean, there's good ruins there, that could open our eyes to a lot of technology, I bet.
The Circle I is in the same region, and if you guys know how Atlantis was described, it was described as having concentric circles, and I think it's 5 circles if I'm not mistaken, with water in between. This is one of those places that the water level has changed, where it used to be kind of at sea level, and it would have filled it up in these concentric circles the way that it was looking. And it's one of the places that is completely unresearched, but one of the spots that possibly could have been where the stories of Atlantis came from. Super cool. Super cool.
Oh. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to change the whole subject matter there.
That's fine.
It's a cool
technology and archaeology kind of go hand in hand, because we miss so much of, we think we're so technology advanced right now, but we're not far off from the Stone Age just because we got computers and internet,
Well, and in some cases we're catching up. Like, yeah, we do have computers and internet, but like the discovery of the Antikythera mechanism, right?
Yeah.
The calculation device that's thousands of years old. Seem to have a good handle on flight right now. They found that the Egyptians, the kite system, to put people up into the air to see oncoming armies and other things. If you look at ancient China, in warfare, they were using rocket technologies that to your average soldier today, to myself, these are technologies that look like ours, that you would have recognized, as a anti-personnel rocket system, right?
Oh yeah, the ones where they put the arrows onto it, yeah.
But I mean, it's so close. You can see that humanity has came up possibly several times before to the brink of modernity, right?
Right,
and then
right.
Pulled back, whether it be war, whether it be greed, whether it be the new hot religion of the time, right?
Or just dumbed back down so that we, so that we end up starting all over.
Humans are stupid as fucking certain things.
Crashing.
The world around us, if it's any consolation, and we've gotten to this argument, hey, this is the way that things have always been, right? Humanity has been around roughly in our state for about 70,000 years, as far as, kind of where we sit, right? For that first 30,000 years, we didn't even have the wheel. We drug stuff around behind us for 30,000 years, longer than the time that we've had the wheel. So to say, oh, this is the way that it's always been, if that was the case, then we need to still be dragging shit behind us on rail cars, right? Because humanity has had the wheel less time than it's been with it, right? The fact is that everything around us, from the moon to apples to oranges, right? You can look in your environment and everything rolls, and it still took us 30,000 years to figure out the wheel, right? 20,000 to figure out fire. We sat in the cold, right? Eating raw fucking meat for 30,000 years, right? The things that we know that will seem like they are the brink of technology now will seem like they are completely and utterly obvious in 1,000 years. Your average 5-year-old understands the wheel.
Well, there are also many anomalies in archaeology. Like what you say, like 70,000 years. There are actually finds, like in certain layers in the earth, Like that, there have been finds of these like these little metal balls, for example, in layers of over 2 billion years old. Little metal balls with like perfect little circles in it.
There's
And,
one that we've looked at that's that hammer, and the hammer had to have been there when the rock.
Oh yeah, I know that one too. Yeah, it was in the rock layer. Yeah.
It's one of those ones that doesn't make any sense. So this is a wooden-handled hammer, and a with a iron.
Yeah, that's a time traveler, bro. No, it's fine.
There's a bunch of different pieces. This part doesn't make sense. The only way for the hammer to get in the middle of the rock was for it to have been there when it was still mud, and that doesn't make sense. Now there's a lot of things that, like I said, information. Our solar system used to have more than one planet. Our moon is made from another planet smacking into us. Was there life on that planet? Was there civilization? A hammer is the most basic tool that a civilization would have. You see, it's not signed at the bottom, right? Made by humans. You think of all of the animals that are as smart as us. At one point, maybe one of them picked up a hammer. How far could a society went in other animals that you didn't have the explosion of numbers like we did. So maybe there was only a couple million of this species of whatever it was, right? They all got sick and died. AIDS, Ebola, there wasn't enough of them to come up with it. That was as far as they went. It's a thing in archaeology that people are going to have to look at with an open mind.
Yeah, but that's the big problem. That's the problem, because they're searching for archaeology to support their existing theory. They're making like a theory, and then everything they find has to like substantiate their theory, and everything that doesn't fall within their theory is just discarded. It's like put into like these little boxes in there.
Well, only information that feeds to the narrative that keeps us ignorant is all that is allowed to be pushed.
Well, and you can't we can't change all of the hit books in America. It's false history. It's fake. That is the lie. There is no information there. You have to change the books. It's not an option to continue to keep people ignorant. I'm sorry. Right? So there is that, like, if it doesn't fit their narrative, when we were talking there about, the wheel, so to them, they've got the 70,000 year narrative. If you find something that's 100,000 years old, they immediately discount it. In a lot of these, and you can see it through other sciences, dinosaurs are a great example. So we've known that dinosaurs are not lizards, right? Since pretty much they were named. But scientists constantly come up with a discovery again that they're not lizards. Oh, well, they were warm-blooded like birds. That's because they were, birds. Oh, well, they sat on their eggs and took care of their young like birds because they were birds. Oh, they had feathers like birds because they were birds. But we've got this narrative that they're lizards. And every discovery, you need to just walk up to the board, erase it, and start from scratch, because they're not getting it. They're not birds. The world doesn't. You don't know everything there isn't about the world or history. Don't be scared to take in new information, even if it doesn't match your narrative.
Yeah.
But they've got books writing on it, and they said this. I think the same thing about like space travel. We're not going to be able to use rockets to get to space travel. Somebody needs to just walk up to the whiteboard at one of these engineering schools, right? Put a picture of a rocket there, and then just fucking erase it, and then ask, how the fuck are we going to get around in space? Because we're stuck on the rocket, right? We know we're not going to get there. We know this isn't the way to go. Shit, it's not even the way to get stuff off of the planet, but we're stuck on it. Rocket's been around for what, 200 years now? But we're stuck on it. Nobody ever walks up to the board and be like, look, this is all bullshit. This is not going to work, right? This is dragging stuff behind us. Give me the wheel.
Yeah, it is. Eventually, it's based on like the idea of a spear, right? The rocket, like.
I think so.
Well, it's a controlled explosion. That's what it is. That's all it is.
Yeah, but like the shape, pretty much like a spear.
Our dicks into space. That is.
Yeah, dick. Yeah.
Like launch and strap as many explosives to your back as you can and explode yourself into.
Well, step up would be a fusion engine, and then if you want to get all sci-fi on you got to get a warp engine.
There's like I said, there was people that probably sat around the fire and thought about all of the different ways to move stuff around as we spent 30,000 years dragging it behind us. But at some point, someone will come up with the idea, and chances are it probably won't be any of the things that we're thinking of at the moment. Because even we are very constricted in our ideas of what the universe is, how to travel through it, any of that. You know, it might not be going faster. You know, the universe is moving at thousands and thousands and thousands of miles an hour. We're moving at thousands of miles. The best way to get to the other side of the universe may be to stop.
Yeah.
Right, if you stop moving at this very moment, right, and the universe is still moving at, I mean, hundreds of thousands of miles an hour, right, faster, you know, a percentage of the speed of light. If you stop moving right now, how fast will you travel to the other side of the universe? But with, you know, with everything, as soon as we break out of the box, stop thinking out of the box. As soon as you start creating out of the box, as soon as you start doing things outside of that conformity, that's where everything is possible. You know, anything designed, everyone have always told you, oh, I marched my own drum, right? I did my own thing, right? I came up with it outside of every single one. You know, great advancement happened outside of conformity, but yet they'll tell you conformity is the only thing that will advance us.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. I feel that Tesla would disagree.
Well, you know, he's always been on you know, his big thing has always been about putting people on Mars.
Oh, no, that's Elon Musk. I meant like actual Nikola Tesla.
Oh, they meant Tesla, yeah. Yeah.
No, I meant the real deal.
Yeah, he thought, you know, he thought back in like the turn of the century, you know, when he heard that repeating sound, that it was coming from solar based, but like it was somewhere in our solar system that was creating that repetition that he was hearing. But that was like before the, you know, radio was commonplace. So who knows what the fuck he was hearing back in the day, you know?
Well, and there's always the Dark Knight project, right, or the Dark Knight satellite. So this is a
Yes, I've heard about this. They've been, isn't it like you can view it like at certain times at night?
Well, I'm not on a. This is my favorite one, guys, and I'll tell you a couple of reasons why. Out of everything, you guys know I'm ex-military, I'm ex-Air Force, right? Out of everything in our sky, this was one thing that I would say people should look at. So this is the satellite in a non-natural orbit. So this is a reverse orbit around the Earth between the poles, which is impossible, right, to occur naturally. Tesla received radio waves from this and believed that it was a alien satellite. Now, fast forward to today, there's been huge amounts of misinformation, and that's something that we can check out. It's black. It's been up there forever. He traveled to several places in the world to look at it. You can only, because of its orbit, it's very hard to catch. So you can't catch it in like the night sky, and it's black. So you kind of have to know where it's going and catch it that way. Now, for those that are listening, we track every single piece of debris in our orbit, right? Down to ones that are, you know, the size of a pea, right? So to keep from smacking into them at immense speeds. So we know huge amounts about this satellite. If you guys go to look it up, it is like it does not exist. No reports. NASA doesn't report about it, and it is one of the few satellites, right, that we have no knowledge of, or act like we have no knowledge. We can tell you things that are flying around on it. You guys can go look online and see all of the debris that's around the planet. It is the one thing that will be missing from that map. And this is at the same time, this is, you know, we're talking about Tesla and radio waves. Tesla traveled around because he was getting radio waves from it. Something was turned on inside of it and giving off radiation. Since then, this is like the dark zone of satellite information, and nothing is quite as covered up as cleanly as this is. You know, a couple of YouTube videos, a couple of pages out there, but we don't know anything about the artificial satellite that's been up in our orbit for possibly a couple thousand years. by its orbit, by its decay rate. There's a lot of cool things about it. But yeah, go look it up. The reason that it's called the Dark Knight Project is that was a secret English rocket program that they claimed was one of the booster rockets. When you go and see the pictures of it, you can tell that it is not a booster rocket. And they later recovered all of the Dark Knight project pieces. Then fast forward a little bit farther, NASA took some pictures of it and claimed that it was a spent ejection seat, which is impossible at those heights. And then if you look next to it, you know, it's a couple 100 miles away, and for that to be an ejection seat, you know, the ejection seat would be a mile wide kind of thing, right? Like the numbers would be astronomical for this ejection seat to be that big. It is a artificial satellite of some sort. The recent satellite that came into our solar system, slowed down, and then left may have been picking up information from that.
I do know that Tesla claimed to have contacted it in the past, and later Marconi too, when they just invented like the radio. Like Tesla invented the radio first on its own, and later Marconi invented it, and there were no other radios around, and they were getting some signals, and they actually later claimed that it could be that.
Yeah, that it was a community. They, you know, this is before the time, you know, we could, you know, you could detect a Bluetooth signal, you know, 100 years ago. Would you know what to do with it or what it was? You know, so you can detect that there was some sort of, electronic something or another, right, going on it, but you wouldn't be able to tell specifically what that is. You know, our cars, everything puts off this radio wave that's electronic, that's machinery. They all put off radio signals. So you could tell, hey, that's a machine of some sort, right? That's an electronic machine of some sort, but fuck, I have no idea how to communicate with it. Even tell that it existed and that it was putting off information. Like I said, we recently had a comet or satellite come into our solar system. It came into our solar system at one speed, slowed up, and then sped up and left our solar system again. And there has been speculation that it possibly could have been an alien satellite probe of some sort. I've always been under the impression that it may have been downloading the information from that satellite, that you would put satellites all over the place, and then, you know, kind of, you know, watch this planet. It has the makings for life, right? And then you pick it up, and then you can figure out which ones and don't, you know, do or don't have them. All sorts of reasons why it could be. They may have slowed up, looked at our planet, and been like, "Fuck this, I'm out."
Yeah, it would be logical that it's actually all artificial intelligence, robotics. I mean, why use people for that?
What would you do if you're an alien? Like, you come into the solar system, you call the planet, and you get Trump on the phone.
Yeah, but if you're even close to our solar system, you will probably get all these Hitler broadcasts and stuff too. So,
just want you to know, we're building a wall. You won't be able to come in and out of our planet. We're doing fake drugs.
It's gonna be great.
I can't wait until our tariff war with Mars.
I seriously hope it's not going to be a president or whatever representing.
Speaking of tariff wars, I did want to kind of like jump off the subject, but yeah, you remember how that shit was going on with Huawei and the Huawei CFO, that she was arrested on behalf of the United States and Canada. Remember that? And so now the Chinese arrested 2 Canadian diplomats.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've been paying attention to that, man.
Yes.
And on earlier today about it.
And they also think that the yo-yoing of the stock market last week was the Chinese in retaliation to the CFO of Huawei, because she comes from a family of lots of money. We're talking billions of dollars.
One of the rich.
You have to in China to be in charge of a company, or you built the company and then the government takes it.
Yes.
I mean, takes it. So the government owns all businesses, but it's that, you know, they have communism in the way that we have capitalism. Even we've got unbridled, right, capitalism, but all these tariffs and all of the games that they play. They're communist. Everything belongs to the state, but there's that loophole where you can get rich as fuck.
Well, let's just see. What I don't understand is, like, even if the company broke a trade sanction, I've never heard of anybody personally going to jail. It ended up being a fine.
Right.
Still, they're holding her as a flight risk so that they can charge her with the crime. So we can't let you.
So she was selling cell phones to the Iranians. Big whoop. Like
Same thing with ZTE though. They were doing something along those lines.
Yeah.
But it's the control of information. Iranians can't have cell phones because you'll call them and ask if they want to kill you, and they're going to say no. Like, that's the truth. That's why I've always, and I know we said this on here before, you want to really undermine the North Korean government, sell them, bring in cell phones. Give them the internet. They'll be watching the Kardashians and all the same bullshit as the rest of us.
See, that's what I'm wondering, if they're cutting these countries off because they don't want them to have products that are also sold in America, sold there, so that those people can't really get access, or
there's been a lot of things over the years, but mainly a lot of companies won't, not only because there's sanctions, they won't deal business with them because they know it'll flop. At this point,
I find it just, I mean, that's a major cell phone manufacturer. And even if they don't make necessarily a phone, they may make parts for another manufacturer, you know? And so it's something that needs to be paid attention to a little bit.
I don't know. I think it was a big mistake for her to get arrested. That the Canadians did it on behalf of the United States government. After she gets charged with this, they're going to extradite her to the U.S. So this is a mistake on both our governments. You know.
By far, because it's gonna
ruin all the talks.
Trade agreements, yeah.
It's gonna ruin everything, yeah.
Now, granted, I did see something about we are taking a toll on China by them stopping, by them not making any money from us right now.
Oh, the Chinese lifted the tariffs for right now because the talks are going on. But if it doesn't go as well, they're just gonna enforce them.
Right. And I mean, it's sad though, because everything you buy in America is made in China. Everything, or the Philippines. And it is a lot of it is not high quality goods, which I think there should be a standard at least. If we're importing their goods, they need to be, like if you buy something from Japan, it's pretty much made pretty well, especially electronic wise, But I don't know. Maybe I'm thinking too much into it. I mean, we let them sell. Even American flags are made in China now.
That is true.
We're like, God, man. Even flagpoles. You go buy a flagpole at Home Depot, made in China. What?
Mm-hmm.
Like, man.
Yeah, that was done on purpose. They moved the entire industry to Asia, and now we're seeing the problems of that. And we don't have any industry anymore. And,
it hurts. Hurts everybody.
It's not just China.
Most of it happened during the 70s and the 80s. The technology companies moving to Asia.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
At least the manufacturing part.
Yeah. Well, they can do it so much cheaper.
Yeah, it is cheaper, and China isn't even the cheapest. I mean, it's also Indonesia, Philippines, and Vietnam. So yeah. Last time I did say Apple was actually moving their industry back to the USA, but they're not putting in employees; they're putting in
computers,
AI. Computers.
Yeah. Well, they said I think they're building 2 places, one in Austin. Apple is, if I read right, and it's going to be like a circle building, and there's going to be like a big interior, a big interior park or whatever. I guess like a nature area, But that was a few days ago when I read that one.
Yeah, Amazon is doing it too with the drone army. So yeah.
Yeah, we'll see how that works out. I don't know. I see, drone technology being a good in the future, but I just see too many people with, like, you know, kids from the hood with baseball bats be like, hey man, you want that shit? And, you know, just slam right into like one of those drones.
It's expensive technology, and I mean, you can always take some parts of it, sell it again on eBay or whatever. So, yeah, there's poverty, right? So as long as there is poverty, that stuff is going to happen. They're going to take these drones down.
Well, like you know, like those bird things that they were having a problem in Los Angeles. Like, you know, now the homeless people are taking those things apart and scrapping them for fucking, you know, for metal.
Yeah, of course. Who can blame these guys? I mean,
you know, and those were free scooters that anybody could use. They're not exactly free; they cost $1 to use the scooters anywhere in the city of Los Angeles. But you know, the homeless people found a way to make money off of that too. So
yeah,
that's awesome.
The Chinese. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, that was awesome. Yeah, go ahead, man.
No, I was going to say, like, the Chinese pretty much hacked into all of the technology we have already. But I know, like, a few years ago, some, like, super high-tech drone crashed in Iran. And they reverse engineered it. And they said it just had, like, a USB port in it.
Wow.
Oh, was that the... Wait. Is that the drone that they found that was flying over near Israel?
Yeah, something like that. Something like that. And yeah, it crashed, and now they have their own drones, and they're exactly like copies of that drone.
Didn't they say that drones were used in the Las Vegas too? Drones
You know, I caught part of the show the other day, and y'all were talking about how Google wasn't marketing their products correctly.
No, they don't, and
yeah, not at all, man. I so much was like, dude, y'all are spot on, because like Google Voice is a beast. There's many different Google features. Oh yeah, like I got Drive, and now it's like Google One.
Yeah, we were talking about that before the show. You know, Google used to have Google. They still got Google Labs and like in the back, but they don't let anybody beta test or alpha test any of their shit anymore. Besides, it's all homebrew. You used to be able to beta and alpha test their shit,
right?
But they don't let you do it anymore. And now Google Labs is also incorporated with the Museum of Computer Science, and they do a lot of restoration on old computers. But yeah, Google doesn't know how to market anything that they got, so much so that they're shutting down Allo, Google Plus. Yeah, they'll be shutting down Hangouts. Soon.
I thought that was going to be left. Hangouts was going to be left on, or when included. I thought I did a little more research.
It'll be another product.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's I don't get that either. Now exactly like right now with the delete Facebook stuff and all the like Facebook crashing down on everywhere, like on the stock market and stuff. Why would they shut down Google Plus? Like, why wouldn't they like embed it into YouTube?
It was over a data breach.
I mean, yeah,
make it like embedded in YouTube and like expand YouTube a bit so you can also do like the text updates.
I would think expand YouTube and mix it with Google Plus maybe.
Yeah.
Good move. But yeah, you're right. I mean, they do not market what they do have available properly at all, and I don't understand it. They're one of the richest companies in the world. Come on.
Well, you know what they did is they did do something really innovative on their Google Pixel 3. They have something on their most. I think you can get it on most Android's phones now. It's called Google Lens. And it's kind of scary technologies. So what Google Lens does is it is machine learning. So it's partial AI. And what it does is you will take a picture of something in the room, and it will identify what you are taking a picture of. So much so that they will you'll be able to find out where you can buy it, where's the cheapest place to get it, blah blah blah, yada yada yada. That's a little scary. I mean, not some of the scarier shit that I've seen. You know, there is some machine learning and artificial intelligence in a lot of phones now, but yet another thing that they don't they don't know how to market
that ability, because that ability can be misused so heavily.
Yeah.
You know, I would think. I mean, it would take a while to to kind of fix that, you know, any misuse issues. But
yeah, they could have done that with Google Glass already, I think.
Well, Google Glass kind of went nowhere. I mean, that's not true.
No.
It didn't go nowhere. There are people that use it and have been upgrading and incorporating on it, but is it a finished product? Never was the start when it started out with. It's always been a beta product, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. It was here. You want to buy a beta product and help us on it, basically?
Yeah.
You know, really what that was.
Yeah, but like, I was talking with you, Watchman, on YouTube, on the YouTube chat, right?
Yeah.
But suddenly, like, I never used the chat thing before. I never even knew that it existed. And then when I saw that you could just like chat like you could on Facebook too, I was thinking like, yeah, why not embed that entire Google Plus system in it, and you can just do updates on your YouTube and stuff like.
Yes.
I mean, yeah, they would destroy Facebook instantly.
Well,
Yeah, I've been playing around with the screen share through Hangouts Live to YouTube. That works real well. Like to go over documents and stuff. That would be. I mean, it's very functional. You know, it really is.
Well, it's like, you know, Google in general, like they come out with just a shitload of horrible products, but then when they do get it right, they get it right. Like,
Yeah.
you know, Hangouts as an example. Like, I use Google Docs and some other of the Google like products, and they're good, but then they'll go down these other paths, and it's all like, guys, just
Right. They kill it off because they just don't realize what they have, I don't think, you know?
That's what happens when your average employee gets paid $100,000.
Well,
Wow.
I'm not joking though.
we made an app to help stop like rapes on college campuses and help stop like abductions of indigenous women and all of that stuff. And I got some friends that work at Google that are, you know, kind of inside men. I said, well, you know, how can we get put into like a bundle that comes with your Android phones and all of that stuff? And we had already written the code for our app, right? Which I said, yeah, I'll send you, no problem. But I assumed that you guys had people that would be able to do this in like your fucking sleep. Like, why would you need like the worst coder on the planet to do this, you know, to do this for you guys? Don't you have like someone you just email and it pops up? And
Yeah.
it was kind of like I kind of got that same, you know, like maybe they're paying you guys way too much if this can't be done.
Right.
Yeah, like you said, Terrence, some products are like really well done. I mean, if you don't value privacy too much, then I think Gmail is probably the best creation they ever did. Like they pretty much destroyed the Hotmail system of Microsoft.
And Yahoo. Oh,
You make
Yeah,
phone
Yahoo
calls
also.
right out of your Hotmail, you know. I mean, right out of your Gmail, you know, while you're sitting at your PC. I mean, you can't do that with, you know, with Hotmail.
Yeah, Hotmail used to be super huge, and I mean they were destroyed, and Yahoo is also destroyed. But that's like a product that's like really worked well.
yeah, and like for just normal emails and like stuff back and forth, like not every single one of my messages needs to be like triple encoded, you know, encrypted, and you know, like there's a whole bunch of just for normal back and forth that it's not important information, and for that Gmail is great.
Oh, speaking of Google, I want to touch on this. Google's CEO did appear in front of the House Judiciary Committee earlier this week, and was interrogated about. This is something that I know. This is a fact. Okay, on all Android phones, this was confirmed by the Berkeley by some group in Berkeley. The computer some project that work in the computer science department had proven that on an Android phone, in order to turn off your GPS navigation function on most homebrews of Android, it's almost, you need special tools to turn off your location setting.
Well, I mean, I think number one is like I saw that whole, you know, grilling process, if you could call it that. And it, I mean, there was all sorts of things that they should have asked Google and that needed to be brought up. The people that they had interrogate him, the people that they had do the committee were, I mean, they had no idea anything about phones, about computers, about Google, they were so ignorant to what they were even asking.
That's so true. A few of the questions that were asked, I thought were good questions. However,
he diverted just like Zuckerberg. Yeah.
Right. He did. He pulled the Mark Zuckerberg. I created this in my dorm room. BS. Like, you know, like that's not your answer to every single question. You know? But yeah, he did divert. But like one asked, if I get up and walk across the room, will Google know I sat down by my friend? And the truth is, yeah, it does. But you know, would the guy answer it? You know, and to me, that's just like, dude, just cut to the chase because everybody knows. You know.
Well, I mean, they specifically didn't ask any of those questions, and I mean, some of that is because they're groomed. You know, they were given the list. They're asked. These are the things that you're not going to ask about, especially when they're things that you know they know that you work with them. You know, access to information.
Well, yeah, because there's contracts. Yeah, exactly, with the Secret Service or you know the intelligence agencies. Okay, you can't ask about that. Yeah, because we're under contract with y'all.
So yeah, I saw a lot of that, and then just the questions that they did ask, they were just, you know, they were overshadowed by the fact that you are not qualified to ask these questions, to interrogate this guy, right? Like you don't, you know, you're trying to ask questions, you know, about a modern car, and all you know about is horses. You may be an expert on horses, but you have no idea what to even ask this guy about the games that Google plays, and gave them like perfect outs, you know. Oh well, you know, how come my daughter gets this update or whatever he said on his iPhone? Oh, I don't make iPhones. Yeah, I know you don't make iPhones, but how come you have all of my private information and sell it to all of these fucking companies? How come you do that? Right, but they can't ask any of those questions. Tracking.
Well, because it's in the terms of service, you know what I mean? That would be the answer, but because none of us read that crap, you know.
And like, if you don't know, it seemed like plausible, and then like every news agency came out with kind of making fun of the questions that they asked that were stupid, right? So they all kind of jumped on that stuff and then really ignored any of the real questions, any of the real things that needed to be asked there. So look, the fact that when you type in idiot, Trump's picture came up, they don't have control of that. During the election, right, they did get caught messing with people's search results. They mess with people's search results all the time when it suits their benefits. They did not ask that question, right? They got distracted on whether it was an iPhone, an Android phone, which not why you were there to be questioned. And that's not really the intent of the question, even though the person that was asking it had no idea.
Yeah, but that's because they're not educated into it, and that's why it's so easy for these guys to defend against it. And
because they don't have a technology background. They're like, if you just say some scientific term and some IT stuff, like, I don't know what a packet is, right?
But I mean, even then, I really wish there was someone that was wise enough to at least study it. So, you know, when he went down that road, he says, hey, you know what? Let me ask you a question. During the election, right, when you guys got caught messing with the search results, putting Clinton votes ahead and making sure that Bernie Sanders stories were buried, right? Why'd you do that? Why is that legal, right? And what are you going to do to make sure that you can't do that anymore? But that was not the question that they asked. You know, you don't have to be the smartest guy on the planet to know that happened, right? They did play with search results to make sure that the Clinton results came up first, and you did not see anything going on with Bernie. Right?
Yeah, but that's because these people asking the questions were like the mainstream Republicans, mainstream Democrats. They were not Bernie supporters.
Oh, like, no, but like if you were going, you know, it happened recently. There's plenty of proof of it. Y'all definitely did that, right? But it wasn't asked not one time. That's really what the question was. They focused on Trump because, I don't know, they're sucking Trump's dick, however that fucking works. Right? Yeah. Oh, well, I typed in idiot and Trump came up. Well, I mean, that is almost a joke in itself. Look up idiot in the dictionary and it's a picture of you, right? That's because Trump's a fucking idiot. And people typed in Trump idiot. This is not fucking rocket science. But there was a time when you did play with results. And that's what they needed to talk about. Those are the questions that need to be asked. And more importantly, how are you going to make sure that does not happen in the future?
Yeah, I think like Trump showing up on the word idiot probably was like the anti-Trump crowd was looking for memes where Trump was looking like an idiot to actually post stuff.
Like it's one of those things. Type in fuckhead in Google in Google search, and I get you, and quite a few politicians pop up. Like, I mean, type in corrupt oligarch and see the pictures of Clinton and Trump together.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah, of course. Yeah.
Type in corrupt politician and see if your local politician pops up on that list. I mean, these guys are corrupt. Trump is an idiot. Like, if anything, that's showing that Trump is that Google was telling the truth. You know, there's certain things that you can't green power is the future. Probably also what he said. I had to search for pages and pages and pages to find anything positive against climate change. Well, no shit. I mean, maybe you should take a hint that like, and even then it was like buried because you can only find one scientist that you're paying to say anything different. But they brought that up and didn't like take, okay, the fact that you had to go through 20 pages to find anything that denied climate change should tell you that it's probably not fake.
No, Trump thinks it's fake, though.
Hey, Trump thinks he's got big hands, too. I'm not going to argue with the guy.
Yeah. But there are multiple sides to the stories, of course. I mean, climate change, of course, is real, but there are some bad things about like the Stop Climate Change movement and the commercial benefits from that. Like we have the whole carbon credit system, for example, Terrence. Like you have like if you're like a huge energy company, you can actually buy carbon credits from like a green energy company. Like, and you can just like pollute the entire planet, and you just buy these credits from like a clean company, but and that makes you clean again. And but poor countries can't do that. No,
we go to the slave masters and ask them for freedom. They'll always tell us no. We have the same people that set up this corrupt system set up the next corrupt system. We went and asked the oil companies and energy companies, oh hey, how can we move on to an energy system that helps out the people? And they're going to tell you they can't. They're going to set up another system that's made to make them profit. That's it. Why would we ask them? You know what I mean? Like when you go to the same people that are the Exxon Mobils, you went to Exxon Mobil to ask about green power. Of course they set up a corrupt ass system.
Yeah, you know? They buy just these kind of these papers to say you made like 1% clean energy this year, and they buy it for like a few million. Yeah, they buy it from like a clean energy company, and they can literally take it off their own polluting system, and then suddenly they're green energy guys, but they're not.
No, like, so I love my second home of New Zealand, right? I love New Zealand, but right, they were spying, and they do a lot of good stuff for the planet and the water and plastic and all that. They were they were boasting that they had 100% recycling, or they some crazy number like that. And they were really just collecting up all of the plastic and then sending it to China.
So yeah.
And then it's recycled. We're good. It's been, there's no more plastic on the island. Well, yeah, but you just put it in giant ships and sent it to China. That doesn't really help the problem. But it is kind of that thing where we create these, these loopholes. Oh, well, slavery's illegal unless you need it for cobalt in Africa or diamonds. And then all good, right? Doesn't matter. You've got
but like the big problem then is like in my country you have like a very big energy company. It is polluting very bad, but Norway is doing like pretty well on clean energy. So what this company in my country does, who is like constantly polluting, is just buying these certificates from Norway, and they can continue to pollute. So yeah, and they just claim like we're 10% clean energy now, but they just bought 10% from Norway, and they can claim it, right?
Like literally just sweeping it underneath the rug,
Yeah, and it's all they all agree to it, and now our country will make the climate deal thing. The goal set for like 2025 or something. They will meet the goals, but they all do it through buying from clean. But now then you can reason that maybe countries like in Africa and stuff, they can't buy that stuff. So what we're pretty much doing is put like a cap on their industry with it.
Well, and we've had problems because you guys know we send like solar. I know we're running out of time here, but we send solar generators all over the world, especially places in emerging nations, small villages, shit like that. And we found a lot of blowback. These energy companies would like to set up a system, similar to what we have in the West. So they want to make these big centralized energy companies and pretty much take advantage of the people there. But with the like single household solar generators, with the small solar generators, you know, one village take care of their own power. You know, each house has its own. You know, each hut has its own power. Each apartment complex has its own power, and we have gotten so much blowback, not from the people. The people love it. The local leaders love it. You know, they love being able to take care of themselves and not have to give more of their you know, their money away to the government. But the energy companies have been fighting us nonstop, because even if they
guys,
know
we got 2 minutes.
Oh, sorry. Even if they know they're going to put electricity out to those places, they have no intent. They'll get the contracts with the government, right? And then they leave, you know, they take the money and they just leave, you know, a couple of electrical lines, and those places never actually get power. But with the solar generators, we don't need that centralized government. We don't need the lines. We don't need the repairs. We don't need any of that stuff. And God, they fight us so hard on it. So hard on it. All right, we're down to our last 2 minutes. Do we have like a closing?
Yeah, we'll be yeah, so we should probably just close out. So we'll be back on next week, Thursday at 7 o'clock Pacific time.
Just normal time, right?
Yeah, normal time.
Well, then Preston's not on, so I'll say it on his behalf. Make sure to have your politicians spayed and neutered.
All right, and we'll roll out with the credits.
Dun, 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 dun.
Okay, well, good show today.
I declare this to be an unlawful assembly.